Councillors, if you can please take your seats. Councillors, it's almost 10 o'clock. Can you please take your seats? It's now 10 o'clock. Councillors, we are going to start the meeting. First of all, for those of you that could not be in your seats on time, if you could please proceed quietly to your seats. I'd like to welcome all the councillors, the officials, as well as the media and the guests in the gallery. I also would like to welcome the members connected to the live YouTube link. We're in a different time zone up here. Just hold on a second while we try and clarify. Okay, this computer says 10. Well, that will give them time to sit down quietly.
Let's just depart, Madam Speaker. It's fine for me. Order, Councillor.
Councillors, if we can be seated the second time. All right, it's now 10 o'clock. Officially, Cape Town time, and we're going to proceed. So, councillors, if you can please quieten down. Councillors, including you, Councillor Jansen. First of all, I'd like to welcome the councillors, the officials, as well as the media and guests in the gallery. I would also like to welcome the members of the public that are connected online via the YouTube link. And now I call on council to stand for a moment's silence, and in that time to please think of all those councillors who have recently lost loved ones, as well as the families that were impacted severely during the recent storms. Thank you. So councillors will now proceed with the electronic registration process. Insert your registration cards into the little card holder clip, and this will automatically register your attendance at the meeting. Don't press any other buttons, please. And as soon as the officials confirm we have a quorum, we will proceed. We call it. Thank you. So, councillors, before I call on the Executive Mayor to deliver his mayoral address, allow me officially to welcome the following councillors who were recently inaugurated into council. Councillor Fadluddin Abrams, Councillor Francois Berry, Councillor Yusuf Dalwe, Councillor Thando Dedizani, Councillor Peter Jansen van Peeren, Councillor Suzette Little, Councillor Hanif Lunat, Councillor Beldine Libber, Councillor Isabel Sherry, Councillor Emery Hugen, Councillor Susan van der Linde, and Councillor Dimitri Dudley. Welcome to all of you. I would also like to introduce the new executive members of the new Junior City Council, and they're in the gallery. I'd ask them to stand. Councillor Executive Junior Mayor Miguel Mayor, Junior Deputy Mayor Stefania Love, Junior Speaker Lokona Vika, and Junior Chief Whip Kirsten Wild. Welcome. Thank you. Now, I now call on the Mayor to do the mayoral address.
Speaker.
Who is trying to interject?
It's right in front of you. We've also got a new councillor, Travis.
Travis Legop, yes.
Councillor Travis Legoff. Yes, another new returnee. Thank you. Sorry, Travis. Mr. Mayor?
Ma'am. Thank you, Madam Speaker, fellow councillors and Team Cape Town colleagues, members of the public. Goeiemorgen, Bolweni, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom, good morning. It's great to see you all here this morning, and it's wonderful, as the speakers just said, to have the executive of the Cape Town Junior City Council here with us for their first full council meeting. They've been introduced by Junior Mayor Miguel Mayor. His surname is Mayor, now he is the Mayor. Junior Deputy Mayor Zephaniah Love, Junior Speaker Lekona Vika, and Junior Chief Whip Kirsten Wild. You are most welcome here this morning, and all the best with your term of office. It's also, as the Speaker has done, but I'll do it again, to welcome a long list of new colleagues to the City of Cape Town Council who were sworn in since our last meeting. Councillor Derezani of the ANC, Councillor Abrams, Councillor Lunat, who is back, Councillor Libber, all of the CCC, Councillor Little, who is back, and Councillor Davids of the Good, Councillor Dalwai, I hope I have that correct, of Al Jamar, Councillor Dudley, who is back, of the ACDP, Councillors Ugen and Van Vuren of the Freedom Front Plus, and Councillors Berry, Sherry, van der Linde, and Legoff of the Democratic Alliance. Congratulations to all of you on your election to this council. I look forward to working with all of you closely. But, colleagues, as we welcome new members to this council, we also bid farewell to others. And this morning we say goodbye to one of Cape Town's longest serving councillors and a true servant of the residents of Cape Town. I'm looking where she is. There we go. A true servant of the residents of Cape Town, Alderman Marianne Nivot, who will be taking a very well-earned retirement. Alderman Nivot rather, will be taking a very well-earned retirement. Raadsheer Nivot, dis my groot voorreg om u vanoggend te bedank vir alles wat u hierdie afgelope amper 30 jaar vir Kaapenaars vanuit hierdie raadsaal gedoen het. Raadsheer Nivot is in 1996 tot hierdie raad verkies en vandag is haar laaste raadsvergadering. Gedurende hierdie tydperk het sy elke moontlike taak verrig wat jy as raadslid kan doen. Sy het haar wijk met onderskeiding gedien. Vra maar net vir die mense, die inwoners van Brackenfell, Brandwag, Springbokpark, Hazendal, Protea, Hoogte en nog. En hulle sal jou alles vertel van haar toewyding tot haar werk. Sy het ook by verskeie geleenthede op die burgemeesterskomitee gedien en sy tree nou af as die voorsitter van Sipraat 2. When you've been in council for 28 years, colleagues, you've worked with a lot of mayors across the parties. Every former mayor of this city holds a place of honor amongst us here in this council. And so I thought it would be nice to write to them this week to ask a few of those former mayors, those who I could get hold of. I tried to get hold of them all, but I couldn't get hold of them all, to ask them to send farewell greetings. And so it's my pleasure to pass on to you, Raadheer Nieuwoud, these messages. Alderman Noma India Mfaketo writes, "This is a well-deserved retirement for Alderman Nieuwoud. She has a deep understanding of all of her portfolios. I can only say to you, well done. Your commitment and skills did not go unnoticed in my years in council. After 28 years of service, you deserve a good break. Enjoy your retirement and may the Lord be with you." And may I add how nice it is to hear that Alderman Mfaketo is doing well in her personal health. Alderman Helen Ziller writes, "As Marianne takes a well-deserved break from politics, it is a privilege for me to thank her for many years and to wish her health and happiness in this new stage of her life. Marianne and I worked shoulder to shoulder to try to build the DA from very divided beginnings to the mighty organization that it is today, being a party of government at local level. Cape Town was ground zero for the DA in 2006. It took a lot of dedicated work from a lot of people to achieve liftoff. To all of those people, including Marianne, who played their part, you have left a legacy. May God bless you on the road ahead, Marianne." Alderman Patricia de Lille writes, "I would like to commend Alderman Nieuwoud for her long-standing commitment as a councillor and servant to the people of Cape Town. Her long years of service is an outstanding achievement and a testament to exemplary contribution to Cape Town and its residents. Having worked with her for many years, I came to know her as a woman with a heart for the people of the city and particularly of her ward. She has made many valuable contributions to progress in the city, and I want to thank her for her service and wish her everything of the best in her retirement." Raadheer Nieuwoud, namens hierdie stadsraad, namens ons kollegas in die stad Kaapstad en namens al ons inwoners, wil ek u bedank vir al die jare van voorbeeldige diens en wens ek vir u 'n heerlike en rustige aftrede. Baie dankie. Colleagues, can we stand again for Alderman Nieuwoud?
Councillors, allow the mayor to continue.
Colleagues, my second farewell message this morning is one I deliver with some sadness. We recently lost a wonderful former colleague and a great friend to many here in the city in Mr. Farid Sharif, our former Director of Strategic Assets. Everyone who ever dealt with Farid will remember him not only for the exceptional work he did to transform our city assets, in particular our magnificent and historic City Hall, into world-class facilities, but also for the warm and sincere human being that he was. His passing away leaves a hole here in our City of Cape Town team, as I'm sure it does in his vast circle of family and friends. To all of Farid's loved ones, his wife and children and friends, I wish you much strength and comfort, and I thank you for sharing Farid with us for so many years. Colleagues, I want to briefly touch on the storms of the last couple of weeks. This unusually heavy rainfall and very strong winds has caused much distress, damage, and hardship for many Cape Town communities, and thousands of Cape Townians are still picking up the pieces and trying to rebuild their homes and their lives. But what these storms also did was to bring Cape Townians together in service of those in need. I have often said before that we live in the city with the biggest heart, and it is during these times of hardship and suffering that this is demonstrated for the world to see. Once again, I was extremely proud of the way that Team Cape Town stepped up during these storms. All the hard work and long hours put in by our city staff to help alleviate flooding, clear debris, fix roads, restore power, and do everything possible to help stricken communities really showed that our city value of caring is not just an empty word. It has become an ethos by which the city performs all of our work, and it is humbling to be part of such a dedicated team. I'm grateful to ward councillors who were out at all hours and who have worked to help many residents in the wake of the storm, particularly those residents living in flood conditions. I've been impressed and humbled by the service and support offered by many councillors. When extremely strong winds tore through parts of Wynberg, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake, Councillor Carmen Sieberts went out there immediately and stayed until the early hours of the morning, helping to assess the situation and to coordinate the DRM response. She returned every day of the week, arranging for the restoration of power, the fixing of roofs, and feeding with affected families. Councillor Marikane was out there helping and was in touch with me and I with him. So was Councillor Iso. So was Councillor Gadeni in Philippi, where flooding is particularly severe. So was Councillor Nelson in Parkwood and Councillor Mackenzie, and many others who I saw and interacted with and heard helping, and their help I know is deeply appreciated by their residents. I also have to mention our partners in civil society who never hesitate for a moment to roll up their sleeves and come to the aid of communities in need. Again, it was demonstrated that Cape Town's NGOs are unmatched when it comes to selfless service in times of crisis. But my biggest thank you this morning is reserved for all of the private residents who came to the aid of their neighbors and community members. This army of private volunteers seldom gets the recognition they deserve for their contribution, but I assure you they are nothing short of heroes. Here I'm talking about everyone who cooked and baked and made sandwiches and knitted blankets, everyone who dropped off donations and helped distribute emergency items. I'm told by a Member of Parliament, Honourable Van Minnen, that for several days at the height of the storms, it was near impossible to find soup ingredients in any stores. This was because so many people had gone out and bought those ingredients so that they could cook up big pots of hot soup for people who found themselves in terrible situations. If that doesn't make you proud to be Cape Townian, then nothing will. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to every resident, every neighbourhood organisation, every group of local ladies who took it upon themselves to help others and lighten the load. You are what makes this city so great. Madam Speaker, I now want to turn to a topic that has dominated much of the discourse throughout the country this past month, and that is the big change that has taken place in our national government. The formation of a government of national unity is by far the most significant development in our democracy since the 1994 election. And I'm sure you have also felt, just like I have, a recent change in the mood of the nation. These two things are linked. South Africans are reacting to what they believe is a reason for optimism in the future of our country. The statements that have been coming out of several ministries of the Government of National Unity in recent weeks have placed a number of meaningful reforms firmly on the agenda. And while, of course, all of this talk still needs to be backed up by action, there's been an undeniable shift in the tone of everyday conversations among South Africans, as well as in reporting by the media. For the first time in years, the gloom is lifting. I was very encouraged by the President's speech at the opening of Parliament last week. Some of the issues he touched on are things that we have prioritized here in the city of Cape Town in our own efforts to stimulate growth and create jobs. And it bodes well that we now appear to be aligned on a number of those important reforms. One of these issues is the President's commitment to driving growth by scaling up investment in public infrastructure, and particularly, if you listen carefully to him, in metropolitan areas. This was obviously music to my ears. We are already doing much with our own South African record of 39.5 billion capital budget in this city over the 3 years, 75% of which will directly benefit lower income households. But we'd really like to do more, and we can do more, and we look forward to bigger infrastructure budgets for local government in the years ahead. The President also spoke of the need to simplify regulations to enable better public-private partnerships. in this infrastructure investment drive, which we welcome. We are already building the first transparent ease of doing business index for Cape Town so that we can cut red tape and set the example. And we are holding ourselves publicly accountable to that ease of doing business index. The President also spoke about deploying technology in the fight against crime. This was also music to our ears. Again, this has been a large part of our own strategy to combat crime. We know that we cannot afford the number of officers we really need, so we must use tech as a powerful partner to well-trained, well-resourced officers on the ground. He also spoke of a renewed focus on the release of public land for social housing, which will now be included under the second phase of what is called Operation Vulindlela. This is particularly welcome for us here in Cape Town, because we have learned for ourselves that one of the best ways to counter the spatial legacy of apartheid is to partner with private social housing companies in the building of affordable and well-located housing units across the city. The more suitable publicly owned land we can identify and release for this purpose, the faster we can break down those old barriers and place even more Cape Townians within reach of economic opportunity. So to have the President on board with this is a big step in the right direction, particularly given the vast, underutilized mega properties that are owned by the national state here in Cape Town. And I will touch on this in a bit more detail. But besides all of that good news, the big takeout from both the President's speech on Thursday and from various statements and sound bites from the new ministers these past few weeks is that new life has been breathed into our national government. And this presents an opportunity that we dare not waste. In the business of governing a country, a province, or a city, momentum is everything. My team often hears me talk about putting runs on the board. You have to build up a sense of momentum. And right now we are experiencing momentum in the right direction on a number of key issues for the first time in years. South Africa has been handed a lifeline. We can dare to hope again that the slide towards failure has been halted at least for a while. And we now stand before a crossroads as a nation. If we can use this opportunity, this new chance that we have been offered, to make inroads in these areas of reform, we could place our country on the path towards growth, jobs, prosperity, and a better life for millions of South Africans. This new momentum is obviously of particular interest to us here in Cape Town. We have long petitioned the national government for the devolution of certain powers and responsibilities to capable metro governments, so that we can better serve our residents where these national departments and state-owned entities are struggling to fulfill their mandates. It is my hope that this new era under the Government of National Unity will allow new ministers to break with the stubborn refusal of some of their predecessors to work with us on those issues. It is my hope that we can all see the bigger picture and do what is best for South Africa's future and understand what needs to be done to best serve our residents, and then work together on a plan to pool our resources to achieve this goal. I've reached out to many national ministers in recent weeks to advocate for Cape Town's priority issues to be firmly on the GNU agenda. Amongst our most urgent devolution issues is more policing powers for metro officers, and I'm pleased to have had a very positive meeting just last night with the Minister of Police. As many of our communities across the Cape Flats are in a daily war with violent criminals, gangsters, and drug dealers. In particular, we are calling for the devolution of criminal investigative powers so that our metro officers can help build prosecution-ready case dockets and gain convictions, particularly for gang, gun, drug, and extortion-related crimes. Our well-trained municipal police have the capacity to play a far bigger criminal investigation role and to augment and support the efforts of SAPS, where they are clearly struggling to fulfill that role with very limited resources. This immediate boost for the state's criminal investigation capacity can be achieved by a simple but impactful amendment to the SAPS Act under Section 64E, which specifies the powers of municipal police officers. The Act should simply state prevention and investigation of crime, a two-word amendment. Two simple words that will make all the difference for Cape Townians, particularly those living in gang-ridden parts of town, and residents of all cities around the country where competent municipal officers could be doing much more to help SAPs and prosecutors. Regrettably, neither the previous Minister of Police nor the Justice Minister have ever formally responded to our correspondence calling for this amendment, amongst other reforms, all of which are absolutely in line with government's policy agenda for more integrated, localized policing. So I was frankly very impressed, sending a note summarizing all of that previous correspondence to the new minister last week, having an answer within 48 hours and a meeting last night within a week. We've welcomed comments in the media supporting such an amendment for more policing powers for municipal officers made by the outgoing chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Police, Mr. Siabi, in April this year. And so I've also written to the new portfolio chairperson, Honourable Ian Cameron, as well as I've said to the Police Minister, to express my encouragement that we can now pass this amendment to the SAPS Act as soon as possible. This is our golden chance to put people before politics and to do the right thing on behalf of residents living in daily fear of crime, especially in communities impacted by gangsterism and violent gun crime. Madam Speaker, the second devolution issue which we have repeatedly raised with national government in the past is that of the management of the passenger rail service in Cape Town. Minister Barbara Creasy, the new Minister of Transport, indicated in her budget speech debate last week that the Transport Department has now completed its draft National Rail Devolution Strategy. This is very good news, as it confirms that the department is pursuing and continuing with the cabinet-level policy decision that was taken in March of 2022 that devolution will happen. I've therefore written to the Minister asking for confirmation of when the city will be able to comment on this draft strategy and for a clear deadline to finalize the strategy so that we can get devolution done. Right now, the city is very close to finalizing a service level agreement or an SLA with PRASA, which will set the stage for future devolution discussions. Our own rail feasibility study, which you will remember we restarted just at the beginning of last year, is also now at an advanced stage, and we expect to table its findings on various rail devolution scenarios in this council before the end of this year. These scenarios will explore how best to introduce private sector involvement into passenger rail in our city, with an integrated transport planning and management system involving all three spheres of government. This means if we can simply establish our long-requested Joint Rail Devolution Committee with the National Minister and her department, we could fast-track devolution and be aligned for the first time in years. So I was greatly encouraged by the Minister's comment in the same budget debate that she recognizes it is nearly impossible to run and plan a major city without managing public transport. I could not agree more. Colleagues, a further critical part of our GNU advocacy agenda is an issue I mentioned a little earlier, and that is the release of public land for affordable housing. I don't need to tell you that our city still bears the spatial scars of apartheid, as all South African cities do. But we are working every day to dismantle that legacy, and one of the best ways to do so is to enable much more affordable social housing developed at scale by the private sector in well-located parts of Cape Town. These affordable rental units close to economic opportunity and transport corridors have the potential to immediately change people's lives, which is why we are so keen on them and why we are advancing a comprehensive program to release more land that the city owns for affordable housing. And we're running a separate program of support for micro developers to deliver more affordable accommodation so that people who are currently paying money to rent a shack can find a safe and dignified home to rent. As we continue to drive municipal land release from our side, we have to remember that immense potential lies in a handful of severely underutilized mega properties owned by the national state, which represent some of the largest and best located land in all of Cape Town. These properties include the expansive Wingfield, Youngsfield, and Wynberg military bases, as well as the Acacia Park Parliamentary Village close to Century City, which we certainly don't think is the best use of this land, nor the best way to house members of parliament. These are all massive, largely vacant properties in parts of the city where affordable housing would be a game changer for thousands of families. We estimate that these 4 mega properties alone could realize as many as 100,000 affordable housing opportunities. In a city with such a pressing need, there has to be a way to make this happen. We've already had a very constructive engagement with the new Public Works Minister, Minister Dean McPherson, about these properties, which is a most refreshing change to all of the engagements we've had in years gone by. This minister is also intent on spurring action on the many problem buildings owned by his department and by national government around Cape Town. In years gone by, we got no answer, no reply, no commitment from successive national ministers of public works. But again, my hope is that we can use this new and positive momentum from this new government to break with the past and consider this matter afresh. A further critical issue we face is the severe national subsidy constraints to really unleash the affordable housing sector. This is probably the single most important, biggest issue holding up more social housing in Cape Town. Because even if the city goes through all of the hoops to release land, as we are now doing, including all of the reforms that we have passed through this council to make discounting land easier and more transparent, to maximize social housing yield, all of those hoops and efforts, the fact is that the social housing developer still struggles to make their project viable due to bureaucracy and limited funding available by the Social Housing Regulatory Authority, the so-called SHRA. In fact, the SHRA has approved funding for just one social housing project in the whole of South Africa over the last year. Just one. Properly funding the SHRA, cutting red tape around subsidies and approvals, and protecting pro-poor grants from cuts are key priorities for Cape Town. It is my hope that all of these departments, including the National Treasury, under this new government of national unity, will give serious consideration to these concerns and not cut these grants any further. In fact, they should be going up. Housing grants and informal settlement upgrade grants are among the most pro-poor and progressive ways you could possibly spend your budget. And in a city like Cape Town, where these grants are spent well and fully and responsibly, it is a life-changing investment. So this is the worst possible place to make budget cuts, when there are so many other avenues available to trim excess and rationalize spending. With Cape Town growing faster than any other city in South Africa, and about to, if not already, overtake Johannesburg as South Africa's most populous metro, we're asking that this new census data is reflected in both our grant funding and our equitable share allocation going ahead. There are many other areas of opportunities and reasons for optimism in this government of national unity, colleagues. I think of the positive developments on visas that have already come from our new Minister of Home Affairs. So let us take all of these opportunities and turn these waves of momentum into a tsunami of progress that will carry our country and our city deep into success in the 21st century, building more prosperity and more dignified lives for all of our residents along the way. What an exciting and optimistic time this is for South Africa. And I hope everyone who has been given a seat at the governing table is able to recognize the importance, the real opportunity of this moment. Madam Speaker, on that positive note, for all of our futures, I want to close by wishing all of our athletes who are in Paris for the Olympic Games much strength and success on the eve of the opening of the Games. We believe in you. We are immensely proud to see you carrying our beautiful flag on the world's biggest sporting stage. Whatever your results at the Games, you have already done South Africa proud. And remember that Cape Town is behind you 100% all the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, Councillor, in terms of Rule 11.2, we have an opportunity to ask questions, and the following parties are going to be asking questions. From the ANC, Councillor Majinga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Morning, Alderman Mayor. My apologies if my preamble is longer than the stipulated time of the province has been declared a state of disaster as a result of weather disruptions. The question is on municipality as an that should be handling the issue of homelessness, a comprehensive compassion. During the situation, I have traveled across the city, seen all, but one thing that perturbed me most among many was the situation of the safe space, homelessness, while we have service provider contracted to those people. My attitude to planning is we must plan as if the sky is going to fall. Mayor, are you happy with the inhumane and undignified situation the homelessness people live under? If not, what is your best plan? Thank you.
So the most inhumane and undignified conditions that homeless people live under is on the street. The safe spaces that we provide are far from inhumane or undignified. In fact, they are facilities that every Cape Townian can be extremely, extremely proud of. I have seen some sneak peek photos of the Safe Space 3 called Ebenezer that we are about to open. And it is absolutely humbling and inspiring to see what a beautiful facility our Cape Town team has built at Ebenezer, which will start accepting residents, homeless residents soon. We have got Safe Space 1 and 2, and now Safe Space 3. We have Durbanville, which we have opened, which is a beautiful facility. All of the pictures are available online, but you're also welcome to visit it for an oversight visit if you would like. We have the expansion of Belleville Paint City. We have a new one coming in Muizenberg, a new one coming once we secure a piece of land in Tokai, and we're always looking for others as well. Those facilities offer dignified sanitation, first and foremost. You do not have to use the toilet on the street. That in itself is a massive step up in human dignity. So when I hear this argument that we should be providing a full home, an RDP home, to every person that is homeless, which is completely financially unfeasible for any city in the world. Not even San Francisco is able to do that. They have tried for the longest time to put homeless people in hotel rooms in San Francisco. And I've discussed this with the mayor of San Francisco personally. They are now, if you look, moving to a program that they call Inside Spaces. It is exactly the Safe Space program. After going through the whole experiment of trying to put up everyone in hotels, they've come full circle to where we were a few years ago building safe spaces, which they call Inside Spaces. So it's clear that it is one of the only, I'm not saying it is the only, there might be other models out there that I have not yet come across, and if you know of them, please send them on. But it is one of the only sustainable models that one can find out there to properly accommodate homeless people. Not by the way that it is cheap. This council has approved 253 million rand for the construction of safe spaces. That is an enormous amount of money. Of course, we have to do our best to improve the dignity of homeless people, but it is not possible to accommodate them all in a standalone apartment or home or necessarily what they would like. But what we are doing is a massive, massive step up for dignity. Not only does it provide dignified sanitation, it's got, they receive meals there, they receive training, there is a social worker on duty. My understanding is 24 hours a day. There is a nurse on duty. There is a doctor that visits on a regular schedule. There is training programs to help them access job training and job readiness. There is referral services for drug addiction or mental health issues. This is all what this council provides. It is extraordinary, and I think we should be extremely proud of it. So I must say, I find it frankly beggars belief when I see people in the media saying that it would be better for people to stay. That seems to be the implication. They don't say it in exactly these words, but it would be better for people to remain on the street in undignified conditions, where they must use the loo on the street, where they are not getting meals, they have no access to the support that they need to get out of the destructive loop that they're in. It would be better for them to stay there than to go to a safe space. I suspect If that were actually the case, our safe spaces would be empty. If that were the case, our safe spaces would be empty. Bursting at the seams. We are trying to build more so that we can accommodate more people. So I think people speak for themselves, frankly. And I don't take that criticism very much.
Thank you. Al-Jamar, Councillor Ahmad.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Mayor, I would like to compliment all those staff members and councillors that assisted so well in the floods that we had. The houses you're speaking so proudly of, Mr. Mayor, the delays, we keep on passing bucks. National, they want to give us ground. And city say it's national's problem, national say it's city's problem. Don't know who to pass the buck to. My concern is, however, Mr. Mayor, what are we as a caring city doing about all our contractors, all the red tape that our people have currently when they're waiting on plans to be passed off, depriving hundreds of people from work because we're waiting on plans to get passed. People come with their personal problems to work, refusing to sign out documents. What are we as a city going to do about it? Thank you, Speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Let me say, I'm not sure that anyone would describe the speech that I've just made as passing the buck, anyone except you. But let me say we are not passing the buck, Councillor. What I said and what our record demonstrates is that we have released more land over the last 2 years than over the last 10 years. That is what we have done over the last 2 years in terms of releasing our own city-owned land. But the simple fact of the matter is that the city does not own mega properties. We have smaller properties. The biggest one that we have released is Salt River Market, which is a large, you might call it a large property. I think it's going to have 1,800 units. But that's pretty much the biggest. Sorry, I just want to keep my eye contact with the Councillor Cindy. Thank you. That's pretty much the biggest one that we own. Now, we are doing good work and making good progress in releasing those parcels. All that we are saying is how much more we could do if we had access to bigger parcels. And I always make this point to the National Minister. Can we find, how many other cities in the world can we find that have got no less than 5 military bases in one city? You would think we're about to have an invasion. There's no war. We don't need 5 military bases in one city. These bases were all built before World War I. We don't need them. Even if we could get access to just one of those massive properties, it would be a game changer for housing in Cape Town. So I don't think that that's passing the buck. It's just speaking the facts. As for plans, I think it still takes too long to get plans approved in Cape Town. We all agree with that. Alderman Andrews has done something really important just in the last few days. So I'm glad that you asked this question. So you gave me an opportunity to speak about it. Thank you. Because we've released our new draft municipal planning bylaw. It's a major overhaul of that bylaw. And it's still in draft form, so it's certainly not passed yet. It has to go through public participation now and will eventually come to this council. And I look forward to your support based on what you've said today. But the whole purpose of that bylaw is to make it easier to deliver affordable housing faster in Cape Town. And there are a number of reforms introduced in that bylaw, which make it easier to do so and make the process speed up significantly so that there are less bureaucratic hoops to jump through, less of these applications, departure applications that people have to submit that take so long because each of them have to be publicly advertised for months on end and so on. So that is a really important reform, and I'm sure that you will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. From the NCC, Councillor Root.
Madam Speaker, I need to raise the displeasure from my party and some of my colleagues sitting here. It's extremely intimidating when we have your security personnel sitting behind us. Is it possible for you to remove them and ask them to stand behind the glass? I don't see any of them sitting behind the
Councillor,
DA.
excuse me, do you have a question to the mayor pertaining to his speech?
Now, but it's an important, I believe, we are intimidated, we can't even.
Don't be intimidated. Don't be
Nobody by the DA
intimidated.
side.
That's a
They
choice.
must go to the DA side. They must go to the DA side or they must go.
There are people on the DA side too.
Madam Speaker, you want us to speak, well, guys, give me a chance.
Please,
Councillors, please. Councillors.
let's listen to the
Madam
councillor.
Speaker,
Let's listen
Madam
to the
Speaker,
councillor.
I'm raising this because it doesn't give us a free opportunity to raise the issues that we want.
According to the rules, you can raise anything so long as you do it in the appropriate fashion.
But it's intimidating.
Don't
Why
be
are they not
intimidated.
sitting behind the
You're not a
DA
victim.
personnel?
Don't be intimidated. Okay.
We are treated like criminals.
Thank you. Then we're moving on from the DA, Councillor Woodman.
So can I just check, is there no question?
Just wait,
I'm
Councillor.
leaving the questions to my chief mayor.
Okay. Thank you. We move on, Councillor Woodman.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Madam
Sorry,
Speaker.
sorry.
Mayor,
Speaker.
you mentioned the need.
It seems to me that the CCC still has a question. They're just struggling to get to it.
But Councillor Lunat is the speaker. He
Oh,
can't
okay.
pass the buck to somebody else.
Fine. I'm still happy to take your question if you have one. You have to think on your feet.
Speaker,
I'll come back to the question, Madam Speaker.
Speaker, Councillor Kibina.
Okay.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Woodman.
We're in questions. We carry on with the
Speaker.
questions. No, we're in questions. Let's
The
continue.
whip was informed that the chief whip of the NCC is going to ask the question. It was informed through a.
We were given the name of Councillor Lunat. Okay, so if Councillor Lunat has finished his question, we move on to the next speaker, which is Councillor Woodman.
Where's Councillor Woodman?
Good morning, colleagues. I'm over here. Mayor, you mentioned the need for an amendment to the SAPS Act to allow municipal police to play a more significant role in criminal investigations. What steps are being taken to engage with national government on this matter? And what progress has been made in discussions with the new Minister of Police regarding this proposed changes? Thank you.
So let me just say, because your question relates to SAPS, you only need to feel nervous around a police officer if you have something to be nervous about. So I would give that advice to our colleagues. Councillor Woodman, thank you for your question.
Order, councillors. Councillor Mackenzie, I'm naming you for the first time.
Maybe we should just start every meeting by naming Councillor Mackenzie. All right, Councillor Woodman, thank you very much. So I sent detailed memos to all of the GNU ministers, setting out what Cape Town wants from them. And one of them contacted me and said, seriously, did you have to send me an 11-page memo on my second day in office? Because we want to set out these things that Cape Town has been asking for years. And now we've got this opening to get some more of what we need to make Cape Town thrive. And so we're going to take that opening. We're going to push it with everything that we have got. And so I want feedback on all of those issues. And one of those memos I sent to the new police minister, setting out a full history of correspondence between myself and his predecessors. And I'm afraid most of that correspondence was unfortunately one way. There was not a great deal by way of return correspondence from the erstwhile minister. The responses that we did get were usually in the form of public ranting at rallies and at police community indabas, where he would rail against Cape Town, trying to muscle in on SAP's territory. And as much as we made the point that we are trying to help beat crime, that's our only goal. Our only purpose here is to try and help win the war on crime. We want to work together. That is the only way that we are ever going to do it. We cannot have territorialism. We need to pool resources. We need to have some of those additional enforcement powers for our officers so that we can do more. And so I summarized all of that for the new minister. As I said, I got a near immediate response, which I was super impressed with, by the way. And as I said to him last night, I will say it publicly here, I have not had a meeting like that with national government, certainly not with the national police minister, but hardly even with national government in the last 2.5 years, because the meeting was positive, it was productive, it was focused on what we can do to work together. There was not a single mention of this is our territory and this is your territory. That was not the discussion at all. And when we brought up the legislative change that I've outlined, the addition of those two important words, the minister's response, and I'm quoting him, words to the effect, I feel very positive about that legislative amendment. You know, let's see if we can get it done together. So I'm very hopeful about that, and will immediately follow up. I'll give them until Monday, and then they'll get another letter. We'll hopefully put some legal minds together and start to work on these things. And besides just the legislative amendment, there's a lot more that we can do together. I said to the minister that very often I personally get messages from station commanders in Cape Town begging for more Metro Police and law enforcement and LEAP officers to be deployed to their station. I never tell anyone in the SAPS leadership about those messages or who I get them from. We just try to help. We just try to get them the support that they need. On the ground, depending on who the station commander is, we actually have a wonderful working relationship. In some cases, the station commander is too nervous to work with us because they think they're going to get punished from their bosses. The most important things that we can do, and this is what I said to the minister last night, one of the most important things we can do is just send out a clear message from the national police leadership and from the ministry that we are all in this together, that we have to work together, that you must never feel embarrassed or shy or scared to work with City of Cape Town, Metro Police or LEAP or law enforcement. In fact, it should be standard operating procedure. We work together every day. And so I hope that that message goes out. I also spoke to him about the urgency of extortion and mafia in Cape Town, and I really do believe that this requires a cabinet-level intervention, a national task force to work on construction mafia and extortion gangs in Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban. I hear it's starting in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha as well. So I really think that needs a national intervention. So that's basically what we spoke about, Councillor, and how we're going to take that engagement forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the councillor from the EFF, Councillor Yeko.
Greetings, alderman councillors and the House at large. Happy birthday to the EFF that is turning 11 years of anniversary. Mr. Mayor, where is the EFF?
Settle down, please.
Where is the EFF come, Mr. Mayor? We've seen you are doing the rounds, taking pictures and videos in certain parts of the affected, the areas that are affected by the floods in the city of Cape Town. Doing that, all we've seen in you with trucks and going there to suck the water and no solution in problems that our people are facing. Nothing given to them to prevent an ongoing disaster that our people are facing, let alone the permanent solution. All you do, Mayor, is the tick box exercise. And you just pay and celebrate because after you left the scene, the disaster takes place again and again. I hear you, Mayor, you're impressed by the councillors that are doing work on the ground, on the report, but on the ground, our people are sitting with a different tone. What is your plan about the community members that did not receive this aid, likes of people of Ward 99 in Kailicha and other wards who were excluded in benefiting? I'm sure where they are, they will be very surprised about this report because some of the residents were left unattended. The floods that we are facing now in the whole city of Cape Town, mostly in the black and colored areas, are not new. It is a phenomenon that keeps on repeating itself each and every winter, yet we are talking about the winter readiness of the city. Furthermore, the sewer system we have were never created for the increased population that we have in these areas. Mr. Mayor, as you always say that you are the caring city of its Capetonian, what is your plan to ensure that these residents of Cape Town, especially the mentioned above areas, do not have to deal with this again in the next winter? So simamele ke Mayor nabantu bakuthi bakumamele uthini? Thank you.
No, I'm trying to listen very carefully, but can I just ask you, Ward 99, what did you say that the residents did not benefit from?
What the kids that some of the residents get, what about those ones of what 99 gets?
The kids.
Such as blankets, etc., etc. And
I-
stays,
Okay,
and
thank
stays
you.
and-
So,
and material.
so it's the aid from the disaster management
got it.
process.
Okay, yes. 11 years of the EFF. I'm not sure if that's something we should be celebrating.
Yeah, you are the only one who may not celebrate that, but we are celebrating, Mr. Mayor.
The voters who left you in this election are also not celebrating, so. But still no revolution, Councillor. I'm sure it's coming, eh? You're still working on it. Okay, let me just look, besides that fun and games, it's a good question. The flooding is serious. We did have, Councillor, 168,000 homes which were impacted by flooding this last month. And so that way exceeds our ability to distribute kits to everyone who's affected. And many of those are affected only in very small ways. They might have a small amount of water. That water might drain away very quickly. Others where they are affected very severely, uninhabitable, is obviously where you have to try and focus your resources. And so far as I know, our human settlements team has distributed 6,500. It might be more than that now up to 16,000 of the kits. And I know that there were an additional number provided by the National Department. Do you know what that number was offhand? Yeah, but what was the number? But you don't know how many? Oh, 600. So 600 were provided by the National Department of Human Settlements, and we're grateful for that support, of course. But of course, it is not adequate to support the number of people who have severely impacted by this flood. And it is absolutely heartbreaking to go around and meet residents and to not know immediately what you can do to help that person, because of course it's incredibly tough to find a space to relocate everyone who needs sometimes immediate relocation. So we still have some people living in bed and breakfasts. We have some people still staying in community halls. We have some people staying in a school, I believe. But all of that together is still not enough for those numbers who have been affected. And let me say, there are a couple of answers. It's not just one answer. There are places where we have to improve stormwater infrastructure. That is why I try to pay attention, for example, to the stormwater project that has been ongoing in Kosovo and Samora Machel, and which is a wonderful project which is going to permanently alleviate issues of stormwater and flooding in that part of the community. I would love to find more places where we can do more projects like that. There are other parts of the solution as well, though. Many of the people who are worst affected, who I did visit in these last weeks and spoke to, are living in or near stormwater detention ponds. Those stormwater ponds are all flooded across the city. They are all overflowing. And that means that people who are living close to them or improperly close to them, or sometimes even in them, are going to be completely flooded. There's no other way to address that. That is the job of that pond, is to collect water. And the only solution is to relocate out of that area. Then there are also people who are, unfortunately, have built illegal structures on top of stormwater infrastructure or sewer infrastructure, and make it very difficult. What's particularly heartbreaking is where an area, for example, in Dunoon, does actually have stormwater infrastructure. It's not as though there is no infrastructure, it has infrastructure. But that infrastructure is badly blocked up, and our teams cannot get access to it to unblock it because of illegal occupation on top of the on top of all of the manhole covers and access points. So it's a really complex and multifaceted problem. Part of the solution is infrastructure. Part of the solution is being tougher about protecting our infrastructure, and I constantly reinforce this message with our teams. They do have a duty to the wider society to make sure that we go through the steps necessary to move people who are illegally occupying our stormwater infrastructure so that it can be cleaned and properly maintained and fixed. And part of the solution is getting the message out there that it is improper to live close to a riverbank or a stormwater pond. And for example, I want to speak to the relative success. I won't say a complete success, but the relative success of a place like Zwezwe or Rivergate, where there has been less flooding this year, even though there is much more water. And the reason for that is that through a very difficult process of community engagement, there are now fewer structures located close to the riverbank than there were in years gone by when flooding was more severe. So we also need help from councillors, not to promote and encourage illegal land occupation, councillor, but to encourage people to locate responsibly, away from stormwater infrastructure and rivers and stormwater detention ponds. And when people locate there, to get help and to help us to convince them to move. That would make a positive difference. And we, of course, will look for any opportunity that we can to roll out more and more of those stormwater projects like we are doing and have done in Kosovo and Samora Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the next section, which is the applications for leave of absence.
Speaker.
Councillor?
Just a follow-up question.
No, there's no follow-up question. You
Mr.
already
Mayor.
spent a minute and a half, which was more than you were entitled to, but I'll let you
But the
finish
mayor
your
did
flow.
not answer
Thank
the
you.
question other than reasoning what is happening.
Then put it in writing.
To leave this
Put it in
chamber
writing.
knowing exactly
Thank you.
what is the plan.
Thank you, Councillor.
So that we know what.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. We're moving on. Chief Whip, can you give us the applications for leave of absence?
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning, councillors. Speaker, we have quite a long list of apologies this morning, about 30, so please bear. Councillors Mokotwana, Reinhardt, Van Zyl, Gross, Klassen, Jacobs, Nia Makazi, Nielsen, Vos, Lasiti, Munkabalanga, Savant, Visser, that's Jackie Visser, Makina, Wayne. Councillors Stevens, Jacobs, Van Rienen, Adams, that's Rashid Adams, Thompson, Cameron, Koopman, Nkumbolo, Lombard, Payea, Watarasau. Councillors arriving late would be Alderman J.P. Smith and Councillor Aslam Kassim, and early departure will be Councillors Anthony Moses and Alderman Sutashi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any others? Councillor Haynes?
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. If I've missed it, my apologies. I did not hear Councillor Nyamakasi from the NC. He's also not there. And then Councillor Chweza, his leave is still in process. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. The councillor at the back there?
Good morning, Councillor Felicia Solomons as well.
All right, so just make sure those applications have gone into the whip's office. Councillor Dembuza?
No, thank you very much, Speaker Pechas. And congratulations to the new leader of opposition, Councillor Jandela. We would like to register that Councillor Patricia Boy is on leave.
Her name was called out. Thank you very much. Okay, councillors? Sorry, councillor? Hello?
Good morning, Councillor Haskell Osco. Can you hear me?
I'm going to councillor first.
Morning, Speaker. I didn't hear the apologies for Alderman Corin Brainard.
Yes, it was there. Thank you, councillor.
Also Councillor Haskin.
Councillor Haskin is not...
I didn't hear his name, but I did see it in.
All right, thank you. All right, we're moving then on. So official notices? The city manager?
No official notices, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I just want to read out that in terms of the registration, the ANC has 35 councillors present, the DA 116, ARA none, ACDP 5, AIC none, Al-Jamar 3, CCC 6, Cape Exit 1, DI 1, EFF 9, Freedom Front Plus Good 8, the PA 5, the PAC 1, UDM 1, and UIM 1. So for the purposes of the vote count, we will use those numbers until we get an updated registration. Thank you. Then we move on, Councillor Kleinschmidt. That's fine. I think they've done that process. Thank you. Right, we move to the confirmation of the minutes. There's one set of minutes for the 12th of June, and we start on page 6, and we go through to page 62. Can we confirm the minutes is correct? Thank you, Councillor Haynes.
Whilst we confirm, Speaker, I just need to check. I have in the meeting reported that Councillor Makasi has left us. It's not in the minutes. Reflected, it might be then reflected that she's absent without.
Thank you. They're going to correct it for you now. Thank you very much. But having that correction, we'll sign off. Councillor Dambuza.
Speaker.
Hang on, sorry. Another point.
My humble apology, Speaker. Councillor Duka also is in the minutes recorded as absent without an apology. It is confirmed that indeed an apology was submitted for him.
Thank you. We'll correct that too. All right, Councillor.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. I just want to register that there are items that the EFF does not agree on with in the minutes, and somehow they are clearly not reflected in that sense. So we will then go through the process of re-giving to the whip's office, or should I give to the office of the
It needs to go to the Secretariat, but perhaps for confirmation, you can give it to both.
No problem.
But it does need to get to Secretariat. And then we will check that against the YouTube footage to ensure that in fact that is correct, and that that is so that the minute is accurate.
Yeah, no problem. We have
Thank
no
you.
problem with you going through YouTube. We're fine with that.
What we do in our spare time. Thank you very much. We're going to move on then to the remainder of the agenda. And the whips have agreed on the following items. In volume 2A, it's item 4, item 9, item 11, item 12, item 13, item 14, and item 16. In volume 3, it's item 21, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. And in volume 4, it's items for noting item 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Are there any parties who wish to raise a comment around that? Councillor Cupido.
Speaker, we have submitted a list of our decisions to your
That's
office and
perfect.
also
Thank you
to
very
the-
much.
Thank you.
Councillor Dambuza.
The EFF has forwarded its position to
Perfect.
the office of the whip, also indicating that due to the amount of airtime that we have in council, we are unable to speak to all items.
Thank you.
Not necessarily that we agree with those things.
Okay, but we're not going to debate them. All right, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Speaker,
Councillor.
PAC disagrees with C12 and C13. C12 and C13, we don't agree.
I'm afraid I can't catch that.
C12 and C13.
C12 and C13. Okay, you don't agree. We will record that. Thank you very much. So we then move on to the next item. And recommendation for item 5 is on page 8, and the first speaker there is Councillor Deniso.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Madam Speaker, municipal workers who are the core face of service delivery currently are embarking on a wage negotiation process. Last week, on the 15th of July 2024, they finalized round 1 of the wage negotiation. These workers, Madam Speaker, through their recognized labor union, are demanding a living wage of 15,000 rand and a housing allowance of 2,000 rand per month, as many City of Cape Town municipal workers do not own houses because of this anti-worker municipality called City of Cape Town, which cares only for those occupying managerial positions who are in T20 and above. These municipal workers, Madam Speaker, who are on the ground 24/7 and 365 days a year, are bringing stability and economic growth to this municipality, which care less about the lower level workers from solid waste, from water and sanitation, and water stormwater, and many others. Today, Madam Speaker, on the 25th of July 2024, the TA-led municipality is recommending to upper the nonsensical limits of the municipal entities, CFOs of CTICC and Cape Town Stadium to be increased, Madam Speaker, from 2.3 per annum to an amount of 2.5 million per annum. While the City of Cape Town in the wage negotiations is in the forefront, offering 3.3%, I repeat, Mr. Speaker, 3.3%, which is 303 rand for as a wage increase for solid waste workers and water sanitation and road and storm workers and informal settlement workers and many others who are the core face of service delivery. The ANC, which is the only party in this council which is pro-working class organization, reject this nonsensical recommendation. Sithi le mali mayenyuselwe abasebenzi bakamasipala abasezantsi ngoba ngabo aba inkonzo ebantwini hayi CFO.
Thank you. Councillor Mills. Thank you.
Nikana abasebenzi abasezantsi imali mina.
Councillor Mills.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it's interesting to hear the opposition say that they are the pro-working class when you consider the wages spent on the state-owned enterprises under their control and how much they're paying to run those entities into the ground. The item before us is a simple matter of economics that every hard-working resident of Cape Town knows. If you are somebody with scarce and critical skills and you are not being appreciated, you walk those skills out the door and straight into another job. And rest assured, we are taking a very measured approach to recommending these changes to the guidelines. Allow for a less than 10% increase and only for CFOs who are fully chartered accountants at the highest level of management. The full amount is not a take-home salary, and the upper limits would only be reached through meeting performance targets that represent a worthwhile return on this level of compensation, a return that benefits everyone in Cape Town. Because when considering this item, we should reflect on the value that the convention centre and the stadium bring to our city, and therefore how important it is that we attract and retain the highest achievers to lead those entities. The most recent financial accounts for both entities show huge growth in clean audits. The stadium hosted nearly 1 million visitors in a single year, increased commercial revenue by 33%, and signed a 99-year lease with their anchor tenant. At the other end of the fan walk, the CTICC has now paid all of its large COVID-era debts, including to SARS. The forecast going into the 2022-2023 year was a 15 million rand loss, but they achieved a massive turnaround and beat that number by 61 million rand. And those successes aren't confined to their own balance sheet. 90% of the CTICC spending was with local suppliers. 40% of them were women-owned businesses. And that entire supply chain will continue to grow with 1.2 billion rands worth of future events already on the books as far ahead as the International Botanical Congress of 2029. Together, these two entities have become twin engines of prosperity for our tourism and business economies, from the multi-billion rand deals at the Indabas down to the restaurants, bars, hotels and Ubers that get filled over and over and over by the record number of visitors coming to Cape Town. Cape Town is a world-class city, and our world-class facilities need world-class leadership. Cape Town wants the best and the brightest, and we are ready to compete for global talent. We are creating the conditions for world-class success to thrive here through merit-based appointments, proper governance, and aligned incentives. So I recommend we continue to raise the bar by approving this item. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 8. Can we agree with the recommendation? Those against the recommendation kindly indicate.
We
The
reject.
EFF's against. Councillor, what is that about?
NCC is
You're against. The ANC is against. The
Speaker.
EFF is against. The NCC is against. Anybody else?
Abstain.
The good party is abstaining. Thank you for that.
Once again, Speaker.
Anybody else that up item? Thank you. The item is carried. We move on to item 6. The recommendation for item 6 is on page 16. I presume that we've all read it, and Councillor Saturin. Councillor Saturin, are you speaking to the item?
Yes.
Carry on.
As the NCC, we will in all likelihood show support for community growth and progress by backing infrastructural projects that fundamentally benefit all our people. While the MyFin 2024 initiate aims to enhance public transport, the financial and operational challenges pose significant risks. If not properly addressed, these challenges will heavily impact the poorer communities, leading to higher costs, risks as access to essential services, and reduced economic opportunities, repeating the continuous circle of poverty and social injustice, making it harder for our poor to escape these challenges. Who will bear the brunt with having to deal with these implications? It is the poor who will carry the burden of increased prices and service disruptions when it comes to extortion as well as strikes. We, the NCC, wish to appeal that this council takes a decision to postpone this decision-making on such a sensitive issue. We are of the opinion that all councillors in the city of Cape Town should be on one page, not forgetting that just Monday past, the portfolio committee was just presented with a final presentation, and even there were more questions than answers. Madam Speaker, we need to be vigilant when making decisions on such sensitive items to ensure that it won't harm the rest of the electorate. We therefore appeal that we postpone the decision on this matter and come back in a month's time to take an informed decision to implement a position that is beneficial for all.
Are you concluded? Thank you. Councillor Quintus?
Madam Speaker, is Councillor Badela not speaking on the item as well? Not? Okay. Madam Speaker, the wheels on the bus go round and round. But those wheels will come off unless we at Urban Mobility take a conservative approach and map a budget that plans as if there will be no future funding, and to build our infrastructure and services gradually to avoid creating unused white elephant assets. We have planned according to what we can afford, putting the residents of Cape Town at no risk, to the previous speaker, as she alluded to. And we have done so within our existing budget, and therefore there is in fact no deficit. Our finance executives have crafted a way to continue with our MyCity bus rollout to phase 2A, including the purchase of electric buses within the conservative parameters required whilst serving all communities, particularly the most historically disadvantaged communities in the southeast corridor of the city, as promised. We are procuring buses incrementally, and we are currently awaiting bids for the buses of the overall 250 buses we plan to acquire over time. Unfortunately, we cannot purchase buses on take-a-lot, so we're exploring ways to buy single buses as savings or funding becomes available. We have presented our approach to the National Department of Transport, highlighting that without guaranteed grant funding, we have fewer buses and some infrastructure projects will have to be delayed. The National Department of Transport suggested that we adjust our procurement processes to allow for unexpected windfalls of funding, but the city is bound by supply chain processes that don't allow for spontaneous spending sprees when bus money appears. We are in agreement with the National Department of Transport that the priority is getting as many bums on seats as possible. However, the city is committed to rolling out services sustainably and professionally, and this includes infrastructure expansion to support the buses and ultimately the passengers that they carry. We will continue to serve all planned communities, but the frequency of buses might have to be reduced to the limited number of buses we can purchase, perhaps a bus every half an hour as opposed to every 10 minutes. We will continue to do all we can within the parameters of the law to seeing the people of Cape Town moving onwards and upwards, alleviating our congestion, providing better access to amenities, services, education, and economic opportunities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We have a recommendation on page 16. Those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. Those against the recommendation?
Madam Speaker,
NCC.
please let it
Thank
be
you.
noted
Thank you.
as to
Against? Thank you.
Madam Speaker, you are muting my mic while I am speaking.
Will you please stop speaking? You are not on the speaking turn. Councillor
You didn't allow me to finish what I wanted to say.
Councillor Dambuza?
Speaker, the EFF abstained from that.
Thank you. Anyone
Speaker,
else?
abstains.
Good abstains. Anybody else? Against or? Okay, just as a matter of record, you don't have a right of reply. Councillor?
We want
Who are
the
you?
council to note that.
Sorry.
Councillor Davids. We want the house
Thank
to
you.
be noted. Thank you.
Thank you. It's noted. We're moving on to item 7. And the recommendation is on page 138. And the first speaker is Councillor Rousseau.
He's stuck in bed, warmed up with a flu.
Well, that's not a bad thing. But who's going to speak on her behalf?
I think she advised that nobody will be speaking.
Thank you. We move on. Councillor Makuna Kua. Kua.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mayor, greetings everyone. We support and we the item in front of me, and would like also add that appreciate that the mayor, the city of Cape Town gave the MFMC the right to take part in managing the facilities in our community, and we are working very well with all of them. The only thing that I want to raise as the ANC is that on the N7, there's informal sport facilities that are taking place. Kids are dying, accidents are happening every day. It will be important for the city to note that we still need more facilities, and the bookings are a difficult situation in the community. They are not keen with the way of the system of the facility. We would like the city, please come down to the community, make presentations to them so that they can understand that the facilities does not belong to a councillor, because the mindset say that the facility belongs, councillor has a right facility, and it's difficult when they cannot access it. But the sport, can the mayor take a walk one day and go to the N7 at the corner where it goes to Watersec and look there? We are having a facility that the young kids are playing there and they are always dying. Can that be noted, this agenda of the sports and community health and sports?
Thank you very much. Councillor van der Roos.
Good morning, colleagues. Yesterday, I was also invited to a ward committee meeting in Ward 63, and I was so excited to see the young soccer players that represented us at the under-12 Tramway Gothia Cup. The partnership between the club and the ward councillor really warmed my heart, Speaker. In the past, we as Recreation and Parks have tried various and numerous interventions to improve the management of sports grounds with limited resources at our disposal. Unfortunately, we continue to experience challenges with the representation of codes and the communities, and with the self-governance of the structures in particular, and in general facility maintenance. So during July 2022, this council passed the Sport Asset Management Policy that laid the foundation for the Recreation and Parks Department to enter into management agreements with MFMCs. And today we seek the authority to enter into cooperative agreements with MFMCs. These agreements would ultimately have two functions, Speaker: to clearly establish representative bodies and to optimally co-manage facilities. This process will thus also be two-folded: a standard agreement that outlines principles and representation and governance and management. And it will be accompanied by the annexures in line with the different particulars of sports grounds and the required responsibilities for each. I encourage each ward councillor to familiarize themselves with these annexures that's attached in this report in order to make the process work for sports facilities allocated in the respective wards. But more so, to maximize input for the usage, we seek to use these facilities to advance the development of sports and to advance the development of all the different sporting codes. It is worth noting, Speaker, that although these facilities come under 10 million rand, they are the crown jewels in the respective communities, and the new agreements will help safeguard our assets and will remain the city's asset as much as it is aimed to enhance the footprint and activity. Therefore, the agreements do not aim to provide restrictive control or exclusive use, but manage on behalf of the city. In saying that, we are taking steps closer to greater participation and activity in usage of our facilities. Pending legal advice, Speaker, we can even accommodate different types of sports in identified facilities. Speaker, unlike some of our colleagues in opposition benches, we don't only set meetings to impress the world on social media with paper plans, but we do put tools in place to enable our communities to practice sports securely. Because at the end of the day, Speaker, ministers will come and go, but this DA-led government will remain consistent in delivering sustainable solutions for the people of Cape Town. And once again, as the DA, we get things done. I believe this will not only lay a proper foundation for partnership in sport, but also help us rectify a long-standing concern within sports maintenance. And so, Speaker, I support the recommendations listed on page 138.
Thank you very much. The recommendation on page
Question.
138. Those in favour of the recommendation?
The question, Speaker.
There's no questions. I'm sorry, we're in the vote.
The question.
Councillor, we can't take a question now. We're in a vote. You can ask the question afterwards. Thank
Urgent
you.
question.
Those in favour?
Speaker.
All right. Those against the recommendation?
Speaker abstains again on this
You
one.
abstaining again? Okay. Anybody else abstaining or voting against? Then the recommendation is carried. We move on to item 8. The recommendation is on page 210, and the first speaker there is Councillor Davids.
Greetings to all. The sensitive part of the item for the NCC relates to the questions. 1. The bylaw in question. Was it thought through? And if the city considered how it will affect small and upcoming businesses that would want to advertise on the walls in their townships and suburbs. 2. Is this law specifically because of the pro-Palestine process it affected the DA's election campaign? Either way, we believe there should be more emphasis on how to ensure that the murals are not discriminatory on basic murals for itself. And I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kasim.
Very good morning, Speaker, colleagues. Assalamu alaikum. The new advertising bylaw, as it was adopted by Council on the 17th of December 2023, we have seen promulgation of this coming into effect in the Provincial Gazette just over a month or so ago. The changes to the council system of delegations that we're focusing on this morning, and changes to very particular clauses. New delegations that's required by the authorities for authority to perform administrative actions. I'm not going to read through them, but They're on page 212 of our electronic agenda. Those are the administrative functions. And then we will look at the recommendations, Speaker, and I so move for these recommendations. Just to note, Speaker, the bylaw that we're looking at today, it's not much pages. It's probably 60 or 70 pages. So I'll urge my colleague to read them. It's not a lot of pages to read through. And this will give the colleague a clear understanding that there's no aspects that she spoke about. So we can put our heart at ease that we are recommending something which will be to the benefit of small businesses, medium businesses, and everyone will be much more better off with this bylaw. I so move for that recommendation.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 210. Those in favour? Thank you. Those against? Would you like
No,
to
we abstain against.
Thank you. Councillor Devolution? You abstaining?
The
Or you
EFF
voting
is against.
Against, okay. Anybody else against the recommendation? NCC is against. All right, the recommendation is carried. Thank you. Item 10, Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Speaker, due to recess, this item did not have the opportunity to come to the Portfolio Committee, so I request that we withdraw it until such time that the Portfolio Committee can review it.
Thank you. Then we move on to item 15. Item 15's recommendation is on page 374 to 375, and the first speaker there is Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Morning. Good morning, everyone. This item, C15, speaks about the piece of land F673 in Nyanga, which is unregistered portion, and the remainder of F2861 in Nyanga, that is situated in Sithandado Avenue, which is in Nyanga Clinic. This transfer of this land will assist in which and in the advantage of the community of Nyanga, and Nyanga and its surrounding area, Lusaka, New Crossroads, KTC, Barcelona, and Europe. It will also give a chance for the management that is in the clinic and substructure to upgrade the clinic, the facility for extra resources such as X-ray rooms and others. Hence, it is difficult for our community members to access the X-ray room in the Nyanga clinic because there is no one. The Guguletu clinic, the Guguletu Day Hospital is the one who's got the X-ray room, and they go there for the X-ray and come back. As a result, sometimes they will find out the clinic is closed as it is run from 7 till 4 o'clock, and they will have to come the next day. Therefore, the ANC support the item, hence it's going to work in favor of our committee members. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Alderman Kempthorne.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the spirit of the wildebeest, I move this item.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 374, 375. Anyone against or abstaining? No, we're all on ad idem on this item. Congratulations. Thank you. The item's carried unanimously. We move on. Item 17. Item 17, recommendation is on page 446, and the first speaker is Councillor Mbida.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and councillors in the council. Madam Speaker, as an ANC, we support the transfer of R42926 Tlanga Crescent to be given to Apostolic Faith Mission of Western Cape, because of it's been within the community since 2002 till now. They've been applying for the land now, and they've been a great service to Makada community. Now we are saying, as the ANC, the land must be given to the church free of charge. I move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Pringle.
Enkosi Somlomo. I actually wanted to start by saying, after listening to Councillor Mbiza, that the winds of change are seemingly blowing, but unfortunately it's simply not possible to grant a free transfer in terms of various pieces of legislation. But it is heartening to hear my colleague and the ward councillor supporting this. I think it is important, and Speaker, in supporting this item, I think it's important to note the role that was played by the sub-council, particularly the sub-council manager, Alderman Clifford Sitonga, in terms of seeking to resolve a dispute and an objection. And even though the parties weren't able to find one another, it is still important to note that the city has gone so far as to accommodate the objecting party. And so I think that certainly gives us cause to reject the objection. Their concerns are being taken care of. And so I support the recommendation and urge that we support it as council. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 446, 447. Thank you. Is there anybody wanting to vote against the recommendation? No one wants to abstain? All right, so that's also unanimous. Thank you very much. We move on to item 18 and the recommendation for the 87, Councillor Butcher.
Mandibulise kuwe Somlomo. Ndibulise noceba besixeko. Singumbutho we-EFF siyayixhasa ezisindululo se-Assembly of God Church ekwindawo yaseGreenpoint. I-F 58418 eKhayelitsha mayiwunikwe umhlaba. Kwaye si-EFF siyacela le nkonzo iwunikwe umhlaba ngaphandle kwembuyekezo Somlomo. Ngoba kaloku le nkonzo ikwalawulo loluntu ebantwini nasekuhlaleni lwaseGreenpoint ngokubanzi. Le nkonzo asiso sakhiwo sokukhonzela kuphela. Iyakwathatha neenxaxheba ekuphuhliseni ulutsha. Kangangoko mva nje ibineprogram yokuphuhlisa ulutsha nokuhlala wakwa-Ward 93 eGreenpoint. Inkonzo lena iyakwathatha kakhulu inxaxheba ngoba ikhona nakwiphulo apho kuliwa khona ubundlobongela. Kwaye iiprogram ezenziwayo le nkonzo ziiprogram ezithatha ulutsha oluhleliyo ezitalatweni olungenzi nto zilufake ezinkonzweni zilunuke iiprogram zitsho zibe nexaxheba eziludlalayo ekuhlaleni. Kwaye nabaphathi bayo babayinxalenye yomphakathi, ayingabo bantu abangaziwayo, bangabantu esibabona ngalo lonke ixesha besenza imisebenzi yokuncedisana nekomiti yaseGreenpoint. Lilonke singumbutho we-EFF sifaka isindululo sokuba le cawa iwunikezwe umhlaba ngaphandle kwembuyekezo. Enkosi Somlomo.
Enkosi. Thank you, Councillor Pimpi.
Nkosi Speaker, molweni councillors. Esisiza Speaker siphakathi kwegqiya neJeff Masemola Road. Kubonakala namhlanje sisetyenziswa le nkonzo i-Assembly of God. I-Assembly of God iqale ngo-1997 ilibala eliya apho kudatshelwa khona. Liqalele uklina ke lamhlaba ngo-1997. Ngo-98 labeka icontainer yalo eyelo ikhonzela kuyo ezinkonzo. Ukusukela ke ngo-1998 uzotsho la Assembly of God ineminyaka engama-26 isebenzisa la F number. Kuyabonakala ngapha ke kwireport into yoba le nkonzo ifake isicelo kumasipale ngonyaka ka-2015 ukuzawutsho kulo nyaka sikuwo i-9 years yonke akukabikho nto icacayo. Sithi ke ngoku siyacela siyayazi le cawe Assembly of God into ezizabakala ezenzayo kulaa nkonzo. Siyacela kusheshiswe laa mhlaba noko unikezelwe ku-Assembly of God ngenxa yezenzo esebenzisana kakhulu nomhlaba. Njengoba sithetha nje ngoku abantu bakuthi basemanzini laa nkonzo ibhizi iphekela aba bantu basempula sikalujaca bengahoywanga ngumasipala. So siyayisapota ke i-Assembly of God inikwe lo mhlaba ngokusheshayo. Enkosi Speaker.
Of course, thank you. Councillor Nakelo.
Nkosi somlomo. iBhayibhile ithi ndavu uyaba kuthi kum masiye endlwini kaYehova. Ngalo magama somlomo ndichaza ngokuphelela into yoba i-Assemblies of God siyinike isiqingatha salo mhlaba. Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you. So we move in the recommendation on page 487. Those in favour? Thank you. Those against? And anyone abstaining? Thank you. The recommendation is carried unanimously. We move on to item 19. The recommendation on page 1 of volume 2B, and the first speaker is Councillor Jacobson.
Honourable Speaker, what an honour and a pleasure to address this council under different circumstances and in the spirit of unity as supported by the GNU and expressed by Honourable Mayor earlier. We can now all focus on our job, service delivery. In that spirit, there will always be items that are supported and there are others met with resistance. The objective, better service delivery and accountability. Honourable Speaker, this is not the first time that we are dealing with wasteful and fruitless expenditure. In committee, this item comes up again later. So before Impact decide whether to pay interest due to the contractor for work done on De Klerk Boulevard and whether there will be steps taken against the relevant authorities, I wish to say the following. If interest is in fact due, then we must pay it. In the private sector, poor project management and sloppy accountability will be met with more than a slap on the hand. We are in good faith playing with ratepayers' money. Also, we can ill afford to waste precious money when we have a shortage of houses, safety and security issues, summer swimming and sewerage, etc. If you study this item, it is very clear where and why we fell short. In summary, it is as a result of poor project management, which includes paying our contractors on time. This is not too dissimilar to a matter I brought before in council, where we spent 43 million rand on the promenade, which came to an abrupt halt. Yet again, poor project management. Fellow councillors and Honourable Speaker, we can do better. We must do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Joel.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, shooting from the hip here, as the Mayor said earlier, because I couldn't quite understand what Councillor Jacobson would have an issue with on this item. There is no wasted and fruitful expenditure, Councillor. I refer you to this very useful little blue book, apologies, that you would have been given when you started in council, the MMFA, which will give you a guideline and understanding the terms that we speak about here in council, so that you will be better prepared for these items to discuss and to give valuable input, currently, which is not happening. Councillor Jacobson, you need to show where there is wasteful and fruitful expenditure, not just use the term as a term for sake of using it. There is a difference between irregular expenditure and wasteful and fruitful. And again, the promenade, you failed to show anywhere that there was either of those two, and in fact, there was neither. You failed to understand that the budget, as discussed in this council the beginning of the year in January, was held over until the contract restarted. No money's lost, no money disappearing, which you claimed all over social media. Again, misinformation that's been sprouted. Speaker, this item is one where the city is abiding by the contract that we have with the supplier, the contract which was delayed for a variety of reasons and required that the city then pay in the new financial year. The contract required the payment of 17,000 Rand in interest payments. This is needing to be approved by council. There's no sweeping it under the carpet. The officials have come to council with the report. The next step is that this will then go to Impact to be thoroughly investigated to determine if there was any irregularities and then to address those issues as they arise. Madam Speaker, I have no hesitation of moving the item. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 1. Can we all approve the recommendation? Anybody against? The PA is against. Thank you. Anybody wanting to abstain? No. All right. So we've moved the recommendation. Thank you. We move on to item 20. And the first speaker here, the recommendations on page 12 is Councillor Dambuza. Councillor Dambuza.
No, Speaker, I wanted to say on item 19, the EFF rejects the item.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yes.
EFF is voting against item 19. Thank you. All right, you now are able, which is item 20.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. Let me start off by saying, dear beloved, we are gathered here in an unholy matrimony of the GNU, of course. Let me take this opportunity and be one who congratulates the last hope of our people, which is the economic freedom fighters, for having 11 years in existence when many did not believe that the economic freedom fighters will survive up until 11 years. And the political party will be growing, and then the
Councillor Mackenzie, I'm naming you for the second time. Continue.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The EFF comes here indicating that when it speaks to this, says that our people deserve good things, things that will benefit them and make sure that they are getting better services. We're having a project here that will have our people being accommodated in terms of transport. We are also looking at this project with an element of questioning the fact that as such an exorbitant amount is being utilized. But again, we look at the area that this project is being done at. It is one of the areas that is consistently not looked after. When you look at the roads there, they are consistently placing a question that says, if MMCs are going through MMC sheddings, as we indicated before, why this one is never in a position of being asked to go through an MMC shedding? Because we have seen that shame, poor Bev is gone, and Cynthia has come back as an MMC. The same thing that we indicated before, as we had seen that Carl Papam as an MMC was placed, and now Cynthia has come back because she was not able to be given the human settlement space. But we must say that it was with joy that we see that Alderman Smith is currently smiling now because what he had hoped for has come to place. So we hope that the MMC will place a process of delivering this time, because we must indicate when she was in water and sanitation.
Are you taking to the item, Councillor?
When the mayor was speaking to an item, it was never said anything. And whenever the was speaking about an item, it is constantly indicated that is their time. So come back, Speaker, come back to place. It is my time. 6 minutes it is. As I indicate that we hope that, Mayor, that you have made this decision properly, but not in a position of making the other one to be happy, because Zambia had failed as in water and sanitation. Shame we can say that the Minister of Tokola is trying his best in the water and sanitation space, and we hope that he can improve even further. But with that one of energy, we are very much.
Point of order, Councillor.
So we come
who's
to
called
the
the
fact
point of
that
order? Emil, Councillor Langenhoven. Councillor Quiet.
Madam Chair, I'm confused. What topic are we speaking on here? Is this an open mic night for Councillor?
Speaker, you must quote the rule.
So
actually, can you speak to the topic?
yes.
Thank you.
So, Councillor, you need to speak to the item. It needs to be relevant. Can we bring it back to something
thank you very much,
relevant?
Speaker. No, thank you very much, Speaker. We've been told about positions of VBS here in this council, and it was consistently out of the item that has been spoken, because there's never been a VBS item spoken in this council, and therefore we had to listen to it. And the mayor was driving that thing numerous times. But howsoever, we want to indicate, Speaker, that we are happy about this and we support it. But we want it to be not utilized as a position of sidelining our taxi industry and see it as a position of making sure that more taxis are being impounded, but be a project that will make sure that it is giving services to our people. It's said that MMC Quintus is not here, but I think when it comes to the MMC sheddings, I think he's one of those that need to fall into that place. But I must indicate to the mayor, I'm very happy that Patricia van der Ross is saved
and Mackenzie did not come to steal his place, and she's very safe there because she needed to fly from overseas in order to come back and safeguard her position. But moving forward, we need to welcome Councillor Ndedezana into council. We are happy that he's here, but we must indicate that the ANC has not shown any position of unity. Because the regional chairperson needed to be excluded in order for this councillor to come into council, and therefore there was a fight between the province and the region, going as far as having it on tabloids.
Thank you.
But therefore it indicated that there is no unity at all. But we need to say that we are happy for your unholy matrimony. We hope that it does come to its place and it works to give our people services and it does deliver the work that needs to be done. But we must indicate clear that in all the processes that I had held, Bandez, we are happy that you are still safe, my brother. And the only African MMC that is still there. Others are colored, others are white, and therefore you are the only one who still has this tool. We hope that you still become safe and you won't be removed. And we'd like to thank everyone who is having an unholy matrimony. We look forward when it dies because we believe that there is future for it to die. And on top of it, we want to say that we support this item as the EFF, and that is what I'm sure you wanted to hear, Speaker. And us supporting it.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on. Councillor Gadini. Councillor Gadini.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I thought the JJ Rand was only on NCA. It seems as if it's here in council as well. Madam Speaker, the ANC agrees with the item of awarding a contract which will incur financial obligation beyond the cycle tender for phase E2 along Govenbeke Road, east of Klipfontein. However, Madam Speaker, one wishes that the project does not get delayed as a result of extortion. Therefore, the issue of security must be made a priority. It is clear the mayor is losing the fight to address the issue of extortion, despite launching the campaign a few months ago in Kailicha, as experienced by recent stoppages of a project in NY5 cement refinery is E1 My City route. Madam Speaker, one will raise the issue of traffic congestion that such a project will bring to the residents. And it also offers an opportunity to criminals in the area. Hence, we are appealing as the ANC to our law enforcement agencies that a permanent team be deployed for the duration of the project to specifically safeguard that area so that residents and motorists do not get robbed. Madam Speaker, the taxi industry is My City bus lane in this route, which is another point of concern. How broadly consultative process, as this has this potential of spiraling out of control. Madam Speaker, the lack of consultation by the appointed company chained in the line department with the informal settlements residing in that route and the community leadership in this phase of the project that are identified for relocation is a cause for concern, as it has the potential to delay the project. The community of Kutinja, Crossroad 16 and 18 informal settlements have vowed that there will be no selective relocation, and yet the department and the appointed contractor have not come back to meet with those residents. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we wish these issues can be addressed by the line department before the project starts. Therefore, the ANC support the awarding of the tender. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor De Vos.
Thank you for the support, Councillor Gadeni. If someone can just log a C3 to deal with Councillor Dambuza's verbal sewer overflow. Madam Speaker, fellow councillors, city colleagues and people of Cape Town. This item deals with a major infrastructure development.
On a point of order, Speaker.
Significant part of the
Councillor,
ILC phase.
what is the point of order? Rule which? Which rule?
Speaker, on the point of order.
What is the point of order? No. Sorry, moving on. Councillor Speaker. Point of order, which rule?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hang on, councillor. Which rule?
Point of correction, it's not a sewer, ma'am, it's a septic tank.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Councillor De Vos.
Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Speaker. Speaker.
We're moving on. Councillor De Vos.
Speaker.
No, councillor, you're not going to interject every 5 minutes.
Thank you,
Councillor De
Madam
Vos.
Speaker.
I'm not in that minute.
I'll start again after that rude interjection.
It's a point of
This item deals with the
Speaker, on the
major
point of-
infrastructure development, which forms a significant part
Speaker, I arrive on
of
the
the
point-
IRT Phase 2 expansion of the My City bus service. Right from the outset, this administration stated our objectives clearly, that amongst others, we strive to make public transport available to as many of our residents as possible, specifically through the My City bus service. This specific project does exactly that, by servicing communities such as Browns Farm, Philippi, Nyanga, and Guguletu. This will serve as a significant catalyst for growth and community development. A comprehensive public participation process, including public, national treasury, provincial treasury, and COCTA took place, with provincial treasury supporting the economic point of view. This tender will place no extra burden on the taxpayers of the City of Cape Town, as this contract is funded from national grant funding. Furthermore, this is a rates-based tender. Technically, the contract does not obligate City to any specific expense. The people of Cape Town will secure a significant financial and economic benefit from this investment in infrastructure that will serve our communities. Now, this all sounds wonderful, and it certainly is, but what can go wrong? In Kousrivier, the extensive non-motorized transport project, which is of huge benefit to the local community, was disrupted by a small group in bile green t-shirts, claiming to represent the community, mandate as yet unconfirmed. This was, however, never about representing the interests of the community. This was a group that saw an opportunity to do some political grandstanding. It's truly an indictment on the character of this grouping that they would abuse the economic hardship suffered by the most vulnerable members of the community as a platform to further their own self-centered political interests. Jy trap nie op 'n medemens se swaar kry om gefriet te koop nie. But that is just what extortionists and rabble-rousers do. It's always about themselves, promoting themselves and enriching themselves. The negative impacts of the so-called construction mafia in the City of Cape Town are well documented. They inflate costs associated with projects. They deter free enterprise. They fill communities and workplaces with fear because they do not have what it takes to compete fairly. And if they get their way, they often leave the community with substandard output. Therefore, right before this project even begins, I would implore the communities of this area, please do not allow these destructive and disruptive self-serving individuals to draw you into their narrative and for you to be abused as their pawns. History has proven that they will abuse you, chew you up, and spit you out once they no longer have any use for you. Do not give them the airtime that they so desperately seek and thrive on. People of Cape Town, and specifically the residents of Philippi, Gugs, and Nyanga, let us take hands and together build this infrastructure to serve you and to show the world what we can achieve when we work together and stand together. Let's do this. Madam Speaker, I move the item. I thank you.
Thank you. The Mayor would like to respond.
You know, Madam Speaker, there's a program that's very popular right now called Bridgerton. I confess I'm a fan of it myself. And there's a character there called Lady Whistledown. She's a gossip monger who writes pamphlets with all the latest society gossip. And I think I'm going to start calling Councillor Dambuza Lady Whistledown, because all he seems to do is trade in the gossip that he hears and picks up from the sewer. It is just nonsense. And you see the problem when that's all that you have to offer. He speaks of MMC sharing, but when that's all that you have to offer, Councillor Whistledown, then what you get is vote shedding, and that is exactly what happened to the EFF in this election. They had vote shedding on a very, very large scale. Not nearly as large as Good. They shared votes very much more significantly.
You're not speaking to the item.
But no.
Councillor, I'm naming
responding.
you for the first time, Councillor Satarin.
I think you'll find out I'm responding to the debate. But let me just say to him that there is no person in this council who is here because of their reliance on someone else. It is disgusting and frankly sexist to suggest that Alderman Limburg is here on her own 2 feet on the basis of her capabilities, and I have no doubt that she is going to add enormous value, much more value than Lady Whistledown. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a recommendation on page 12. Councillor Devolution, you're rising on a point of what?
I rise on Rule 24.4.
Okay.
Speaker, the DA speaker here indicated that was speaking on SOAR, which is a offensive position, and therefore
Thank you. We take note.
can be also the mayor indicated on that.
you. We're going to take note of that.
The rules indicate that I have 2 minutes to indicate my point of order. Go through the rules. Go through the rules.
No,
go through the rules.
Councillor?
It indicates that I'm indicating that the mayor said that, including
All right.
the speaker of the
So
DA.
we've heard you now, and you actually
the
with the wrong
councillor
rule,
of
but
the
it's okay.
was
Thank you. Moving on.
You was removed.
We've got the recommendation on page 12. Those in favour of the recommendation?
Speaker, they must withdraw.
Those against the
They must
recommendation?
withdraw. They must withdraw.
The others?
I rise, Speaker. Can you allow me to
Councillor,
rise?
we're not, we're in a vote.
Why are you not allowed?
Are you against? You abstaining? You going with the vote? We're all in favour. Thank you, except the PA. The recommendation is carried.
Speaker, point of order, please.
There's no point of order. Thank you.
Is it not your heart?
We're moving
you
on
can't do
to
it.
item 22.
There are rules in, this.
Councillor?
We are very,
Councillor, you'll remember the last meeting. When you don't withdraw, you go through a process. We'll verify the process.
point out the rules.
Councillor,
This is not happening. Process is not happening.
Councillor,
Thank you, Speaker.
Mayor, what is
Speaker, before you move to the next item, I just need to ask this point of clarity. I hear different councillors speaking of a GNU.
But
we have not
on what rule?
Yeah, in the city of Cape Town.
On what rule?
Clarify them.
On what rule?
we're moving on.
What rule?
Item 22, and the first speaker is Councillor Jacobson. Are you ready, sir?
Honourable Speaker, following on from my previous item, I concluded by saying we can do better, we must do better. That with respect to service delivery. The best way to listen to our community is through a public participation process, and either we wish to listen to our community or we must abandon these PPPs completely. In principle, this item should be supported. Leasing Earth 148 for parking purposes to Mr. Rod's Biggs. Just for the record, which is slightly confusing, it talks about the permission to do a development, but it also speaks about for parking only. So what we're agreeing to here is that the leasing of this earth for parking only, perhaps Councillor Joel, who's more astute, can kindly shed clarity on this so there's no confusion. However, my issue is, unlike the items to be debated now, a proper PPP was conducted. And take item C26, which is coming up now. It was advertised well in the Burger and the Argus. On this item, there was not a single comment, not a single objection. Why? It was advertised on the city's website only. I'm sure that the community would have had no objections by approving this lease. But that's not the point. Going forward, we must follow due process, send the right message, send through the right, correct mediums. Or if not, we are doing an injustice to our community by not listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Joel.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the acknowledgement, Councillor Jacobson, of me being slightly more astute. I do appreciate that. So this item is a regular one. We've had numerous garages coming to this very council in the last few months. So I'm quite curious why suddenly the Freedom Front Plus wishes to object to the leasing of a garage, which is very standard. There are 60 garages in the Clifton area which we lease, all of 24 square meters each. Councillor Jacobson wants to talk about service delivery. They generate about 210,000 Rand in revenue into the city's coffers every month in order for us to spend exactly on service delivery. There is no development opportunity here. I note you were phoning around desperately yesterday to the organizations and individuals in the area trying to find out. This is the standard lease on a garage of 24 square meters. Now, certainly, Councillor Dambuza, or Councillor Whistledown, as he may now be called, may wish to use some of that BBS Richard Madam Speaker move into Clifton, but this is a standard garage parking application. No hesitation, but to move the item, there are no
Councillors, such a reason time I'm naming you. She's talking and she's got the floor. Recommendation on page 46. Those in favour of the recommendation on page 46, aye. Thank you. Those against the recommendation? Against.
We are against, Speaker, but we've tried to call a point of order.
I'm afraid, what rule are you? Okay, thank you very much for that. Welcome back. Councillors, the recommendation is carried. Are we sure there's no one against this recommendation?
We against the Speaker. Good's against.
You?
Good is against.
Good is
Don't
against.
support.
Okay. Everybody else in favour?
We support the item, unlike what Councillor
is against.
suggested. We support.
Freedom Front supports. Thank you very much. We move on to item 23. Councillor Nchunchu. Is that wrong? Huh? We'll try again. Nchunchi. Thank you. It's all that practice. Carry on.
Wishing the EFF a revolutionary happy birthday. It is our 11th year.
Councillors, stop engaging across the floor. Allow the lady the opportunity to speak. Continue. Councillor, sit down so your councillor can speak. Councillor, sit down so your councillor can speak. Respect your own councillor. Thank you. Remember, we spoke about not behaving badly. Councillor.
Speaker, this sale is the very reason land expropriation without compensation is our #1 pillar as the EFF. The city states it's ridding itself of a maintenance burden. DA evicted our people who are trying to be closer to work as it cuts traveling costs so that the money could patch up elsewhere for their families. DA continues to sell land where our people would benefit somewhat so as to not burden itself of affording our people basic rights to shelter, to water and sanitation. DA continues to maintain the affluent white-dominated areas with rental opportunities so as to make sure economically their places are viable for investments, developments, and anything else that will continue to increase its value. So classism is preserved through financial segregation with benefits to the minority and marginalizes the masses. Look at any development project in our colored and black areas, namely Ward 97, 95, 66, 65, 39, and 37. It takes decades to complete. And while one might protest that it's due to crime, DA is the instigator, playing the blame game to your Makwapeni, the ANC, and the new Mfazi, Wepepa, so they can be given wife allowance from our hard-earned taxes in the name of GNU. But you know there is no valid reason besides DA not being interested in anything that brings value, dignity, and general well-being to our people. Our places are not a priority, but any development closer to the CBD is completed in record time. The DA is playing a ruthless capitalist tactic where the DA sells to private investors, especially in the colored and black areas, in the name of investments, where the monies do not rotate amongst our people in these areas, but rather by design, the very people spend it so it can be taken away, remaining systematically dependent on their jobs rather than to grow their own local community. As for NCC, you ought to be educated on some you are being used indirectly by the own black brothers away because coloreds were removed before this. You are the epitome of the monkey ladder experiment. Please Google it. Think before you TikTok in the name of politics. You spit on all the efforts of all who struggle in the working class. And you know we are talking about black and colored people collectively. Those people you chased away don't have a single government facility in their area, but all the facilities are in the colored areas. And you don't even have an issue with this as a non-white activist in post-apartheid. Post-colonialism, I guess. Class struggles where it's easy to remove people because money and color matter more for DA and NCC, while the ANC plays victim, knowing very well that they perpetuate the same nonsense in the wards, encouraging the sale of land instead of advocating for accountability for non-service delivery in their plots. We will never agree to the sale of land, hence the DA. Or since the DA and the NCC and the ANC have put a family displacement to sell this land, I urge you therefore to quadruple the price on this particular sale. We reject this item in its entirety.
Thank you very much. Councillor Race.
Good day, Speaker. Thank you so much. I think let the internal fights continue. Speaker, I move that Council approves the transfer of this property. Thank you.
Thank you. The recommendation is on page 103. Those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. Those against the recommendation? The PAC, the PA, anybody else? Thank you. The recommendation is carried. We move then on to item 29, and the recommendation there is on page 468, and the first speaker there is Councillor Haynes. Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker, and good afternoon to everybody, all my colleagues, including the media and those residents on the platform. Speaker, allow me to first of all thank all my colleagues on the other side and behind my back.
Councillor, settle down, please.
The Mayor and the Chief Whip for the messages of encouragement to my family in the passing of my grandson. It was very much appreciated. Speaker, today, we are asked to consider and approve an updated deployment of councillors to Salga provincial working committees to take effect on the 1st of August this year. These working committees are important structures of governance, not to only strengthen the working relationship amongst all spheres, but to empower councillors. Having said that, it is a bit of a challenge. It is a bit challenging to look at new or confirm current deployment without having received a report on performance of councillors to date in these working committees and how the City of Cape Town as a municipality has benefited from knowledge and experience gained. Whilst understanding that the DA received overwhelming support to govern the City of Cape Town, and it is the prerogative of the Speaker to deploy councillors to outside bodies, it is our belief that it is not only in the interest of a good and healthy working relationship in the City of Cape Town to include councillors without the GNU, I'm not speaking about GNU, to include councillors from other parties as official representatives instead of official secundaries, but equally in respect of the recent amendments of the Salga Constitution, with clear directive that all parties must be considered in the leadership of all management positions, not party take it all for the sake of growth and unity. In the absence of such report and in the spirit of the amendment of the Salga Constitution, we request the item to be referred back and for further consideration of other political parties and be brought back at the later stage. Thank you.
Councillor Vasaki.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, just on what Councillor Haynes mentioned now, there was a very extensive discussion as to the new councillors that was appointed on these working groups, and they were found to be competent. And there's also a deadline that this working group Saga, so we cannot, unfortunately, Councillor Haynes, withdraw the item today. Speaker, this item is to fill the vacancies of the working groups today because of the many councillors that went on to the National Assembly. The changes are reflected in the report, Speaker, but I would also like to add a further change or amendment, which is Councillor Nchunche, and she will be replacing former Councillor Kasim on the Public Transport and Roads Salgo Working Group. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Haynes,
Clarity, Speaker.
clarity, thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm sure, I hear what the Chief Whip is saying and I fully understand. But I'm sure that Salga Constitution allows for a later submission of names should it be. And in that, I'm requesting if we could be, maybe consider the names today and at the later
Okay.
stage reconsider and bring the
All
item
right,
back.
so that's not actually a point of clarity, but nevertheless, we hear you, and we're going to move the recommendation and deal with that separately. Those in favour of the recommendation? Those against the recommendation?
Abstains.
Goods abstaining. Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you. We move on. The next item is item 30, and that is Councillor Pasaki.
Speaker, this item is to table the proposed changes to the membership on the committees. And as previously said, there's quite a few changes, Speaker. Those changes are in the report, but further changes are as follows. Councillor Tanda Desisani, the Spatial Planning and Environment PC. Councillor Carl Popham to be removed from Human Settlements. Councillor Beverly van Rienen to be appointed to Human Settlements. Councillor Nora Gross to be removed from Human Settlements and be appointed to Innovation and Ease of Doing Business. Alderman Stuart Pringle to be appointed to Human Settlements. Alderman Xanthia Limbeck to be removed from Urban Waste Management and Water and Sanitation PCs. Councillor Charles Iso to be removed from Future Planning and Resilience and be appointed to the Urban Waste Management. Councillor Susan van der Linde to be appointed to Water and Sanitation. Councillor Francois Berry to be appointed to Spatial Planning and Environment. Councillor Isabel Sherry to be appointed to Spatial Planning and Environment. Councillor Travis Legoff to be appointed to Economic Growth and Future Planning and Resilience. So that's two pieces. Councillor Francis Lombard to be appointed to Future Planning and Resilience. And last, Councillor Colleen Mess to be appointed to the Municipal and Public Accounts. Thank you, Speaker.
All right, that deals with the changes in the councillors. What are you rising for, Councillor Dambuza? Point of clarity, point of order?
Speaker, I rise on 25.2. I just wanted to get clarity if I heard correctly that.
We're talking about portfolio committees. I'm presuming you read the report.
Relax, Port.
Okay, so it's the portfolio
I
committees.
rise on 25.2. Follow the rules, Speaker. I need to get clarity. Did we hear correct that MMC pop-up is being removed from human settlement? I just wanted to get
No. You see, you don't listen properly. It's the portfolio committee. He is the MMC. So thank you.
The question was not from an MMC position.
No,
The question was from portfolio.
No.
I think you getting excited.
Okay. Councillor, you need to understand the system. We're moving on. Councillor, thank you. Those in favour of that recommendation indicate. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Then we move on. The recommendations are carried. Item C31, and that is a motion from Councillor Cupido, and the speaker on that, first speaker on that is Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Hold on, please. Just hang on a second. Okay, so we first need to table the motion to the meeting as opposed to being on the agenda. Thank you. Carry on, Councillor Cupido.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the motion set out today is to request this council to take a resolution regarding the residents of Sally Road. Speaker, the City of Cape Town has hand-delivered letters to residents in Sally Road, in South River, demanding that the tenants vacate their occupation of city housing in specific dates ranging from 26 July 2024 to July 31st, 2024. The matter is thus urgent because the city purports to evict tenants at dates that arise in this month. Speaker, some of the residents affected are long-standing tenants of the city in properties and the majority of them have lived in these properties for decades. The properties were originally purchased by the City of Cape Town before 1994 during a period where the Salt River area was to be declared a whites-only area in terms of the group's areas. Speaker, on Tuesday, the 16th of July 2024, in my presence in a meeting between the Mako member for Human Settlements and the affected residents of Sally Road, with no sign of the ward councillor, the Mako member has given the undertaking to the residents that all 5 points highlighted in this motion are being actioned by the city without referring to the motion within itself. The Mako member indicated to the residents that the notice of intent to sell in his wording, in other words, not aligned to the letter, the eviction notices were placed on hold. The Human Settlement Department and the Economic Growth Property Department are investigating to process for having houses relocated to human settlements, and that the department is investigating the possibility of transferring ownership to qualifying residents. Speaker, this therefore gives this council the opportunity to resolve that the following 5 points are approved by the council as the decision-making body of the City of Cape Town. Good therefore calls on the City of Cape Town Council to resolve the following as an urgent and seek the approval and seek the approval for the following: to immediately retract all letters submitted to the affected residents. To consider a full investigation and have the property allocated to the property department, namely Human Settlements. 3, to investigate whether the occupants in question would qualify for a transfer of the properties to them in terms of the Human Settlements legislation and policy. 4, should they qualify, that the properties be taken over by Human Settlement and a process be followed in line with the Human Settlement legislation and policy. 5, should it be determined that the property must go up for sale, that the current residents be offered the rights to purchase, and that such shall be done at a reduced cost. I so move, seconded by Councillor Little. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, apologies, Councillor Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Speaker, let me first take the opportunity to welcome Ms. Brown and Mr. Alexander in the gallery, some of the residents of Shelley Road who were able to be here today. As they know, I've been by their side since the beginning of this and through all the political opportunism. Because this issue has been marred with political opportunism, and although we are all politicians here, we don't play politics with people's lives. Had this issue been brought before the former councillor, Councillor Wannenberg, formerly of Sub-Council 16, a councillor that actually cared about the residents of Salt River, would the good party have known that this motion is lamented. I think it's also fitting that I welcome Councillor Suzette back. Sometimes a little support is all you need to come back. Councillor Cubido and to a little extent Councillor Suzette are attempting to gain political favour for an issue that is very similar to their own party, is a thing of the past. From the inception of this issue, I, the ward councillor, along with Alderman Kempthorne, the sub-council chair for sub-council 16, met with various departments, submitted motions for information to sub-council, engaged the Mako member, and met with the residents of Shelley Road. And I want to say thank you to Alderman Force and Councillor Popeye for assisting and addressing this issue in the appropriate manner. So, through the correct engagements with the correct channels, now the residents of Shelley Road will hopefully no longer be torn limb from limb by political opportunists and journalists. The city is exploring the mechanism for these residents to become lawful owners of these houses. Now, today, this motion is officially aphonic and does not need the support of council. This is because the work has already been done. Not on WhatsApp, not on Facebook, not in the media for clickbait, not for political points, but because it was the work that needed to be done. I also want to take the opportunity to ask each and everyone who jumped on the bandwagon and dragged these families through conspiracy theories and little witch hunts. You know what's interesting is that I'm trying to prove the point about this, but I'm getting these little jabs every time.
Councillor,
these tiny little jabs, and it stings my ear a little.
Councillors, please. Councillors, please. Continue.
I will continue, Madam Speaker. I want to take the opportunity to ask everyone who jumped on this bandwagon, particularly the good party, and drag these families through conspiracy theories and witch hunts, to take a moment to look in the mirror and ask themselves, would they have liked to have everyone knock on their door with one false story and another just to win political favor? If I look across the chamber now at the good councillors, it is as if they have the demeanor of pouting children, happier not to have progress made so that they continue to milk this for political gain. Madam Speaker, I do not support
Were you even there?
as the city is already invested in matters towards finding a sustainable solution for the residents of Shally Road.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the table. Those in favor of the motion, please indicate.
Speaker, I want a clarity. Can I do a
Point
clarity?
of clarity.
Clarity question to the Mako member for human settlements. Councillor, would you take the opportunity and tell this council that the statements made at the Shally Road meeting with the residents, that you are in fact sincere, and that those residents that you've addressed and has given the assurance that their matter will be dealt with and it will be resolved, and those that qualify for the homes will receive their homes, and those that that qualify for a cheaper sale, that they will get that sale. And further to that, as the last point, Speaker, can you get your little clowns over there to keep quiet?
Councillors, behave, please. Councillor Siebrits, I'm naming you for the first time.
The last point is to give the assurance to the residents that you, the mayor, has made a decision to have those letters put on hold. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you like the Mako member to respond?
Thanks, Madam Speaker. I just want to say that this is not necessary. We are dealing with people and people that have been through a lot. And to discuss this matter in this way is really offensive to those people and the history. Because I was there. We have made the commitment and we have concluded the verification of those residents' financial and family situations. We are now processing that with the intention of one of our human settlements programs assisting. And so we are in constant communication, and I've done so on an open basis with PR and ward councillors, and we'll continue to do that. And I believe after our last engagement last week, the residents in Shally Road is quite comfortable and quite aware of what the process is we are following. Thanks.
Thank you. Are you willing to withdraw your motion? No.
No, Speaker.
All right, so we still have a motion on the table. Those in favor of the motion, kindly indicate. PAC, Freedom Front Plus, NCC, Al Jamar, and PAC, and I presume good. That's fine. Thank you. Those against the recommendation? All right. Thank you very much. Then the motion falls away. It's not carried. We move to the next motion, and that is motion from Councillor Bengi. Councillor Bengi.
Molo Somlomo Nkosi. Somlomo, nditheblisha le motion phambi kwethu ngoku ithetha ngee-levies, pipe levies. Siyaqiniseka Somlomo ngoku yayi-introducwa okanye ngoku yayi-implementwa le levy yayixesha iyamadami esezantsi. Ngoku amadami ilevel yamadami ngu-93.2. Andiqiniseki ifuna siqhubeke ngale levy, and siyaqiniseka uba ngalaa xesha yayizisiwe kule council, ngelaa xesha umama uPatricia de Lille sengumeya, siyaqiniseka nangoko yayifosiwe ngabaceba bahleli apha yenziwe loo levy. Ewe sisi yayifosiwe laa mama kuza nayenza imotion against yena. And ndiyacela ke ndithetha kwangaba ntsundu ke ngokoceba i-DA niyisapote le motion, ngoba nizohamba bengikhankasa ngoku bantu bekhalaza ngamanzi aduru Ngoku nina kwanina nginichazele ekhokasini uba abantu bayakhalaza amanzi. Siyanicela ke bokuceba kwethi abantsundu, hayi abantsundu bayayazi ihlupheko. Bayivotele bayivotele emotion. Bayeke yabo ndayazi ke uhlalo weportfolio akayifuni uyiva le ndithethayo. Ndiyacela nawe ke MMC Barretini uyicinge le nto ndithethayo uyisupport because abantu bayasufarisha phandle apha. Enkosi.
Of course, thank you, Councillor Badruddin.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Like the previous motion, colleagues, there is another last-ditch attempt at what is really a dying horse. And I say that because even just in the motion itself, a number of errors. So I want to use the opportunity, Madam Speaker, to correct those errors. In the early part of the motion, it's noted that a tariff was introduced for 6 months only. Now, the colleagues here will know that that's not how tariffs work. You don't introduce it for 6 months only. It's for a particular year that it's being implemented. It's something that has been sustained throughout. And I'll go into the reasons why later. You also, Councillor, touch on failing maintenance to ensure unnecessary water loss. But then also in the same motion, you go on to commend us for being the city with exceptional achievement in terms of reducing non-revenue water. In your motion, where, according to the National Department of Water and Sanitation itself, we are the best municipality with the lowest non-revenue water because of the investments that we're currently undertaking linked to our extensive maintenance and also pipe replacement program, which you will know about as a committee member. The motion then also further goes on to suggest that indigent residents have to pay the fixed basic charge. Now, if you did a little research, colleague, you'll know that this is not the case. Indigent residents don't pay the fixed basic charge. So your motion is wrong as well. So now here's the reality and here's the facts that I want to share with you and all the colleagues in your caucus. In our city, we offer the most comprehensive package of indigent benefits to our residents, especially to our most vulnerable. 40% of our residents in the city benefit from the free basic services. Now, in the city of Johannesburg, which you referred to in your motion as well, according to their own statistics, 670,000 households live below the lower bound poverty line. But you know what the data says? The data says that of that 670,000 residents, only 30,000 residents benefit from the indigent grant in that city. And this, colleague, is precisely why the DA objected to this fixed tariff in that city, because the municipality at this stage wants to make poorer residents poorer because they have an incomplete indigent register. So to you, Councillor, and the co-signer of this motion, Councillor Davids, maybe you also didn't know, but good supported the implementation of the fixed electricity tariff in Johannesburg. You supported it. What's worse, Councillor?
Councillors, quiet, please.
No, Speaker.
Quiet, please.
Speaker.
The speaker's got the floor. You wait your turn. The councillor's got the floor.
No.
Councillor Badruddin, continue.
Councillor, worse. Councillor, what's worse? Listen to this. Wait, listen to this.
Councillors, quiet, please. There's no point of clarity at this point. Just wait your turn.
Councillor, I want you to hear this, so don't shout. Listen here. In Tiawaterskloof, you know what you did? You did the same thing. You implemented a fixed basic charge on not only water, but electricity as well. At the minimum average to our own domestic meters, more than what we are charging in the city. So it's important for you to hear that.
Let's stick to
So,
Joburg.
colleague, our fixed basic charge here, why it is necessary.
Councillor
for us-
Badruddin, talk to the speaker and they must pay attention. Don't talk to them.
I hope he's paying
He don't
attention.
know how
Look,
to speak.
Speaker, our fixed basic charge, the speaker, sorry, not that one, he's also shouting. Our fixed basic charge, Speaker, is important for us to ensure stability and reliability in our water and sanitation revenue forecast. We are making a South African record infrastructure investment into our city.
That's through loans.
I want to say that again, Speaker. a South African record
He's
in terms
talking
of
about the
infrastructure
level
investment.
charger.
100.
Councillors, quiet, please.
Another important point, Speaker.
Quiet, please.
Another important point. 120 billion rand being invested over the next 10 years, of which 40% is going to be invested into our water and sanitation network alone. It also helps us to fund, in part, our new water program. It helps us to account for fluctuations in demand over time. And so it's for these reasons, Speaker, that we do not support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table. Those in favour of the motion? Those in favour of the motion, are you in favour of your motion? Okay, so Goods in favour, Freedom Front Plus, EFF, NCC, Al Jamar, and the PA are in favour of the motion. Those against the motion? Thank you. Everybody else? All right, so the motion is also not carried. Thank you. Then we move on. And we move on to item 41. Councillors, control yourselves. We move on to item 41, which is the quarterly financial report. And the first speaker here is Councillor De Beer.
Madam Speaker, good afternoon. Molweni, I miss you eating your popcorn today. I will ask for a supply as I'm getting my cookies. Two things I'd like to note on record. This is a word to Alderman Kempthorne. And I will mention Alderman Kempthorne. Today, when I entered here, you were a man. Now you are a gentleman. You will know why I needed to say so. On the speech of Dr. Sahid Pudradin, no wonder I was amongst many who defended you to sit there, because you add your bloody value. On the matter of the GNU, the only thing I have to say is that when a mongoose falls into a pit of cobras, I hope the mongoose stays a mongoose. Madam Speaker, Mr. Mayor, I've noted certain words in this council move from the word sell out to GNU. I've also, I have secrets. Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, it must be said this day that one should always follow the money. The money will give you direction. It is obvious that there remains a domestic war in this city boundary and beyond, which is taking place every day. Madam Speaker, the escalation of gang activity and killings on a daily basis has increased. The fact that now, as in per the past few days, attacks directly on law enforcement have now become prevalent. And this city, with its power, should draw a line now. Madam Speaker, if there's one matter that needs very clear review, it is the finance and the support of law enforcement, not the decrease of such funds. There's now a new dawn, apparently, in the city, one which is categorically frightening and evil. I have dealt with it in my past, but now it has come to the city. It is called cartels. Cartels are gangsters on turbo juice. These people do not give 1 quarter. They are a different breed, and they are now here. Russia, Colombia, and Mexico have come to the borders of the city. We must escalate now in money, finance, to combat this. For every R1 that council puts on the table to fight them, they will put $10 to fight us back. And therefore, we have no more choice but to understand that the battle has come. And certain of us know them well. The question should not remain, do we have the resilience? The question must not be, do we have the honor? The question must be, shall we rise and stand up against this growing evil as partners and colleagues? Nomslanje. This is not a matter that we can fight separately. This will have to be fought by all of us who think that justice should be at the order of the day. They will kill from citizen to police to councillor to minister to justice to presidents if they deem it necessary. In conclusion, some of them might be sitting in the gallery today. Some of them might be sitting in this council today. And for sure, they are living amongst us today. Isinyoka nomslanje isinyoka. And the way you deal with a snake is you chop its head off and you burn it. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Abrams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, honourable members of
Order.
the Council.
Order. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, honourable members of the Council, I rise today to address a matter of great concern under item C41/7/24, non-compliance of section 116 of the Municipal Finance Management Act and the supply chain policy by the DA administration is still a norm and unacceptable. This non-compliance could appear as cover-ups, which not only reflects in the aforementioned item documents, but presents itself in items 19, 20, 34, and 35 tabled under this agenda today. The MFMA is a backbone of our financial governance framework, ensuring transparency, accountability, and the efficient use of public funds. Blatant disregard for these regulations result in financial irregularities and efficiencies, delayed projects, inflated costs, and ultimately a disservice to the citizens who depend on us. When these processes are flouted, we open the door to maladministration and corruption. This DA administration and its officials' actions of alleged non-compliance creates a perception of unauthorized, irregular, or fruitless and wasteful expenditure, which has been concealed via regular administration processes, which is criminal under Chapter 15 of the MFMA and cannot be overlooked. What is extremely disappointing in this expenditure and recovery of revenue patterns in this report, there is a significant underspending to the tune of 905 million, where social development and infrastructure sectors forms part of which directly affects the quality of life of our people. Increased roadblocks brought in 112 million over budget, yet our road users need to navigate around potholes all over the Cape Flats without any sight of reparation. The report also reflects an underspend of 121 million rand, which could have been jobs, but due to slower than planned implementation of job creation projects, this administration has failed to do so. In conclusion, the National Colored Congress call upon this administration to plan better and take a firm stand against the continuous non-compliance by any political office bearer and municipal officials responsible for these constant breaches of the MFMA and supply chain policies. I must place on record that my first time in council is discouraging. Witnessing members casting aspersions and hurling insults at each other brings about the question of why are we here? Are we not here to ensure the citizens of the city are able to live a better life, a safe life, and a secure life, and that of dignity? When Rule 16.1 and 16.6 is applied unfairly, I fear this sitting may not be fair nor reasonable, and Rule 16.7, in my view, has been violated. Our citizens deserve more and better than this. I thank you.
Councillor Satoshi, Alderman Satoshi.
No, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me take the 1 minute of my 4 minutes to pay tribute to my friend, Alderwoman Nivot. When I look around this house, I see few of us coming from that generation. I see Alderman Patches, the speaker today, Alderman Twig, Alderman J.P. Smith, Alderman Stuart Pringle. In fact, Councillor Peter is supposed to be Alderwoman Olisa Peter. Alderman Siva. I see my friend at the back there, Alderman Chapo. I just want to say to Alderman Nivot, you played your mark. In fact, you left your mark. You demonstrated astute leadership in this city of Cape Town. You are one of the servant leaders that Democratic Alliance ever produced. We might differ on ideology and everything else, but what I've learned from you is humility. We differed with respect. Now you are calling it a day. Bright Watkins called it a day few months ago. So one of the legacies that you are leaving behind that I will never forget, when I was the councillor of Luandle Nomzamo, it's when I came to your office and I said, people of Mokel's Cottage are struggling. They need shelter over their heads. You didn't hesitate. You said, let's go out there. It was the first time for people of Mokel's Cottage to see a white Afrikaner woman walking in those terrible conditions. When we came back, you took a decision and then you said, this must change. And today, people have got roof. So, go well, my friend. If you may allow, Speaker, when I'm done with my item, I can just cross out the aisle just to give my friend a hug because I'm going to leave early. Let me come to the item, Madam Speaker. One of the things that I took as a responsible councillor is to speak facts. I want to remind the mayor that last year, December, we had a council meeting. The signs were there that the city is not going to perform in terms of capital budget. I indicated in that meeting that it is worrying that almost all the departments have got negative variance. The response from the mayor was that it's early days. Wait for the end of the financial year, which is June. This past June, that is last month. As from December until today, the situation has worsened. And I have not seen, Mr. Mayor, the remedial action to contain the situation that I raised at that time. To celebrate clean audit, which doesn't translate to good service delivery, all of us should be ashamed. This is exactly what the Auditor General said in the report, that the city of Cape Town continues to enjoy the clean audits. But there are certain parts in the city of Cape Town that are still deprived in terms of the basic services. Now, you tell me, if you look at this report, when you presented on the 31st of May last year, you presented an ambitious report, the budget, and I cautioned. I said, do we have ability to spend this budget? You said, wait for the 30th of June next year, you will see. The city of Cape Town is underspending by over 2.5 billion as well. It's actual spending. Let us be hypothetical to say that you're going to process all the invoices and the full year forecast will be done by end of this month. You are not going to spend the 11.3 billion rand. In fact, what is focusing here is saying that we are going to spend a full year forecast 9.6 billion rand, meaning that even if we were to take a submission that we are processing invoices, we will still be underspending by 1.6 billion rand. Now, what is really disheartening, the infrastructure directorates are the worst.
Conclude, Councillor.
Let me quickly read, Madam Speaker. Community services and health is underspending by 114 million rand. Energy, 134 million rand. Human settlement, 117 million rand. I can understand Carl just came in now. He's one of the energetic MMCs with Dr. Patrodin. Urban mobility, 453 million rand. Water and sanitation, underspending by 1.3 billion rand.
Thank you very much.
And then you want us to take that no in the next year.
Thank you, Councillor. You may cross the floor. Councillor. Oh, it's for information. Okay, Councillor Alderman Woodley. Not when we finish the item. Alderman Woodley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good day, colleagues. Madam Speaker, we need to take note that the report reflects provisional results for Q4, as it excludes year-end transactions at the stage which can materially change the figures as currently contained in the report. The last speaker has indicated that if there are invoices, etc., that we still need to look at this in this month, leading to next month. The final figures will only be available towards the end of August 2024, when the city needs to submit the annual financial statements for audit purposes. And I think each and every councillor will then take the opportunity to respond to the report in detail. I want to support Councillor De Beer in his remarks regarding crime. It's my humble opinion that the biggest threat to our country is crime that engulfs this entire townships, every suburb. And I just want to give you a simple example. When a child needs to go to the school, before that child goes to that particular school, has to go through thugs and gangsters, etc. And how can that child perform in that school? We can never be able to address that issue, Madam Speaker. So therefore, I want to support Councillor De Beer. We need to be very, very serious about tackling crime in this country. Madam Speaker, I want to talk to you about ratios. We're sitting at, our collections is 96.96%. This is above the National Treasury benchmark of 95%. The 6 months moving average was 97.5%. Madam Speaker, if you compare to the other metros, it's a granny, 93%, below the benchmark of National Treasury of 95%. Buffalo City, 71.29%. Mangawong, 65.4%. If you look at those figures, the city is doing extremely well, Madam Speaker. And I want to assure fellow colleagues that our figures will look completely different come August. We will, in terms of our grants, be close to 98%. The human settlements has been mentioned. They are close to 100% of the spend. So, Madam Speaker, I think the city is doing extremely well. And if we take ESCO, municipalities owe 78 billion rand. And I can say to you, Madam Speaker, this city spends more than 1 billion rand with ESCO, and we don't owe them a single cent. So we can be very, very proud of this city as compared to the rest of the municipality. This report is for noting, Madam Speaker, therefore, can we kindly note the report?
Thank you. The recommendation, well, the report is for information and for noting. We take note of the recommendation.
Speaker, I'm rising on Rule 32.
Just hang on a second.
Point of clarity, please, Speaker.
Point of clarity?
Yes.
What is your point of clarity?
Point of clarity that I want to make. Here, we're not in the business of making profit. Because the latter speaker is speaking about the revenue that we
No, but revenue is not profit. You understand? Revenue is revenue.
Speaker, the rules, give me my minute to finish. What we want to know, is there any explanation from all of these directorates?
Be so much
So
understanding.
it's all in
Where must
the,
that
no,
come?
councillor, you've been here a while. You should be able to read the report. The councillor
There
did
is
explain
nothing on
that.
the report that gives
Thank
the
you, that's not a,
explanation.
no, that's just dare I say, ignorance and not a point of information or clarity. Alderman Satoshi, you're welcome to cross the floor. The item is noted. Thank you.
Before that, Madam Speaker, just to get clarity from Alderman Siva.
You simply don't want to account.
He is saying, Alderman Siva is saying these are provisional results, which I agree with him. But if you go to page 29 of the report, Alderman Siva, for your consideration, you will see there in page 29, the full year forecast is 9.6 billion rand, is not 11.3 billion rands. What explanation are you going to give to the citizens of Cape Town
Okay.
about the 1.6 billion rand underspent by the city of Cape Town on capital budget?
Thank you. So the mayor will respond to that.
Can I go? Yeah. Thank you. Alderman Sutasha, when you are trying to set the capital budgets, you have a couple of choices that you can make. Either you can set incredibly easy targets that you're guaranteed the departments are going to be able to spend because you want to get that end of year figure that you are talking about that is very high, above 90%. We have taken the approach of saying we're going to deliberately set extremely ambitious targets. We have, in the last 3 years, more than doubled the capital budget of the city of Cape Town. It used to be about 4.5 billion. It's now over 11 billion. It's way more than any other city. It's more than Johannesburg and Durban combined in this year, this 11.3 billion, and the same for the year that we've just started. So the 9.6 that we are going to end on, something like that, somewhere around that, I agree with you, it's not likely to be very different from that, is going to still be, even though it is $1.5 billion off the mark, it's going to be more than Cape Town has ever spent in its history. It's going to be more than any other city is spending this year, more than double any other city is spending this year. So I frankly don't mind if we set extremely ambitious goals and we push hard to achieve those goals and break all previous records, but don't get quite where we ended up, where we wanted to end up. That for me demonstrates effort, it demonstrates commitment to do exactly what you've said, to expand our ability to spend, to deliver those big projects on time and do it year after year after year. You've got to do that. You've got to invest in more engineers. You've got to invest in more project managers. You've got to conclude enormous contracts with contractors and hold them to the performance on those contractors. So we are still going to have some frank discussions as a MACO about some of those individual performances. I'm not happy with some of them. But nevertheless, I'm still very happy and proud that we have broken all previous records for Cape Town for 1 year capital investment and South African records, and we will do so again in the coming year. I desperately hoped that we could get to the 10 billion rand mark, because it's a big, I think, psychological achievement to be the first city to cross the 10 billion rand barrier. We're not going to get there this year. I think we're going to fall slightly short, but I have every confidence that we will continue to expand our ability to spend and invest and get there in the year that we have just started, the 24 financial year. I'll give you an example. In Councillor Badruddin's department, we set an extreme target of 100 kilometers of pipe replacement. That is 4 times what they ever previously did. They previously managed 25 kilometers. We said you must do 100 kilometers. In fact, they ended this financial year on 97 kilometers. Now, are we going to moan about the fact that they missed 3 kilometers from the target? Or are we going to reflect on the fact that they've gone from 25 to 97? I think that's still damn impressive. So that's how I choose to approach these things. Of course, I agree with you that we're still constantly looking to expand our ability to deliver more and more projects every year. And I'm convinced we will do that and break that psychological 10 billion rand barrier this year. I just want to respond finally to the point that you made about the Auditor General. I've just opened the section of the report that you referred to at paragraph 163, and I want to read from the AG's report at that para. It's important to note that the city has overachieved on all of its informal settlement indicators, which are taps provided, toilets provided, informal settlements receiving waste removal and area cleansing, and subsidized electricity connections. And it gives a breakdown of our targets and all of the overachievement. Based on the above, this is para 164, based on the above, it is evident that the city needs to balance the need, which is significantly greater, to the actual achievement, notwithstanding much faster further migration into the metropolitan area, and cognizance must be given to the funding available as well as maintenance of the services of the taxpayers who are paying for those services, thus contributing to the funding available. It is most inelegant writing, but I must say what it sounds to me like, the AG is actually warning us that you can't continue to roll out free and subsidized services at the pace at which you are doing it unless you have the tax base available to support those massive cross subsidies. So we have to constantly balance those two pressures, but in fact, the AG records that overperformance in informal settlements for this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The item is noted.
Speaker.
Councillor
Speaker.
Alderman, you may go.
Speaker.
There's no more speaking. Thank you. No, we're moving on. We go. That ends that part of the agenda, and we're going to move into the green item.
Speaker, no, you can't.